Chapter 4952. When Lin Feng and Leng Zixi arrived at the outskirts of the city, a large number of cultivators had already gathered outside the city. These cultivators were naturally here to watch the show. In a distant mountain forest, an extremely intense battle had erupted. 3 cultivators were besieging a cultivator in scholarly robes. The cultivator in scholarly robes looked to be in his 30s. He was quite handsome, but his temperament was somewhat dispirited. Lin Feng recognized one of the 3 people besieging him. It was none other than the 8 Extreme Palace's old ancestor. There were also 2 others that Lin Feng did not recognize. The 8 Extreme Palace's old ancestor was a true immortal expert. Clearly, the other 2 companions should also be true immortals. Could that person be Yun Tianyu? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. This was because Yun Tianyu had sent a message saying that he would arrive at the Little Western Paradise City today. Yun Tianyu was also wanted by the 8 Extreme Palace and other factions. It was very normal for the 8 Extreme Palace's experts to move out to kill Yun Tianyu. Therefore, Lin Feng guessed that the cultivator in scholarly robes was Yun Tianyu. Confucian robes, and other similar types of clothing were basically worn by Confucian cultivators. If the besieged cultivator was really Yun Tianyu, then Yun Tianyu was very likely a Confucian cultivator. That's right, he's Yun Tianyu. A voice came, confirming Lin Feng's guess. The person who came was none other than Shui Yuexin, said Lin Feng, nodding at Shui Yuexin. Then he looked at the 4 cultivators who were fighting, the 8 Extreme Palace's old ancestor, and the other 2 true immortals' attacks were very powerful. Yun Tianyu was restrained. However, Yun Tianyu did not show any signs of defeat. This meant that although Yun Tianyu was restricted, he wasn't using his full strength. The 8 Extreme Palace's 3 ancestors' strength is only SOSO. Today, I'll let you have a taste of my Confucian sect's overwhelming righteous technique. Suddenly, Yun Tianyu roared. Next, a large amount of righteous energy surged out of Yun Tianyu's back and started to churn violently. Yun Tianyu waved his sleeve, and a large amount of righteous energy shot towards the 8-level palace's 3 ancestors. Lin Feng could not help but reveal an extremely shocked expression when he felt the violent fluctuations emanating from the nature energy. The righteous energy of the Confucian sect was one of the most unyielding and yang energies in the world. This kind of power was extremely violent and terrifying. Once this kind of power was unleashed, its might was simply appalling. The 3 ancestors' expressions suddenly changed after they felt the righteous energy attack. The reaction of the 3 ancestors of the Ba-Ji Palace was extremely fast. The 3 of them hurriedly operated their divine abilities and blasted towards the overwhelming vital energy that Yun Tianyu had unleashed. Bang! 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 3 consecutive violent collisions were heard. Everyone watched as the 3 ancestors of the 8-level palace collided with Yun Tianyu's attack. The divine ability of the 8 Extreme Palace's 3 ancestors was instantly drowned out by Yun Tianyu's overwhelming vital energy. Then, the powerful aura of righteousness sent the 8-level palace's 3 ancestors flying. So strong! Many people cried out in alarm. As expected of the Confucian sect's righteous energy, it's truly heaven-defying. Then, someone sighed with emotion. The 3 ancestors of the 8-level palace glanced at each other with a gloomy expression. They knew that Yun Tianyu was not easy to deal with. Currently, the 3 of them would not be able to kill Yun Tianyu. Therefore, the 3 ancestors of the 8-level palace did not linger and quickly left. I'm afraid those 3 old geezers won't let this matter go. They will probably go find some helpers. Lung Zishi said. Lin Feng nodded. They schemed to capture Yun Tianyu and interrogate him to find the ancient survivors. Lung Zishi said. However, this Yun Tianyu is very powerful. He's not someone that ordinary people can deal with. At this time, Yun Tianyu was rapidly flying towards the minor Western Paradise City. This person was indeed skilled and daring. He was wanted by the 8-level palace and other forces, yet he still dared to brazenly come here. He was truly audacious. Ha 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 ha, I brought a lot of good things. I want to exchange them for immortal stones. A lot of immortal stones. Tomorrow, we will conduct the transaction in the Sacred Treasure Pavilion. Everyone is welcome to the Sacred Treasure Pavilion. Yun Tianyu's voice was loud and clear. Then Yun Tianyu entered the minor Western Paradise City. Why did he exchange so many immortal stones? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. Under normal circumstances, these experts liked to exchange their treasures for other treasures and didn't like to exchange them for immortal stones. Because it wasn't especially difficult for experts at their level to obtain the immortal stones required for cultivation, so there was no need for them to exchange all their treasures for immortal stones. As long as he had enough immortal stones, it would be enough. Exchanging so many immortal stones was useless. Lung Zishi said, Didn't you tell me that he has a very deep relationship with the ancient survivors? We don't know where the ancient survivors are hiding, and they can't come out as they wish. Tell me, is he exchanging so many immortal stones for the sake of the ancient survivors? After all, the ancient survivors also need a lot of immortal stones for their cultivation. When Lin Feng heard that, his eyes twinkled. Lung Zishi's explanation was very reliable. Perhaps he really did exchange the immortal stones for the ancient survivors. Lin Feng said, If that's the case, then I'm sure he knows the whereabouts of the ancient survivors. Lin Feng couldn't help but feel excited. Previously, he was worried that Yun Tianyu didn't know the whereabouts of the ancient survivors. Now, he was even more certain that Yun Tianyu knew the whereabouts of the ancient survivors. Lin Feng was eager to see Feng Yaoguang. Now, it seemed that he would be able to see Feng Yaoguang soon. Let's go back first. Tomorrow, we'll pay Yun Tianyu a visit. Lin Feng said. Lung Zishi nodded. Lin Feng said goodbye to Shui Yuexin, and then quickly left with Lung Zishi. Seeing Lin Feng and Lung Zishi leave, Shui Yuexin couldn't help but sigh. She didn't stay and quickly left the place. On the second day, Lin Feng and Lung Zishi went to the Saint Treasure Pavilion together. After arriving, Lin Feng learned that the Saint Treasure Pavilion was going to hold a small auction. The items to be auctioned were all things brought by Yun Tianyu. It seemed that Yun Tianyu had brought a lot of good things this time. After hearing that Lin Feng had arrived, Lu Shaoqing personally came to welcome Lin Feng. After seeing Lung Zishi, Lu Shaoqing smiled and said, What a beautiful little sister. Young master, who is this little sister? Lin Feng said, This is a friend of mine. Her name is Lung Zishi. Lin Feng introduced Lu Shaoqing to Lung Zishi and said, This is the person in charge of the Saint Treasure Pavilion, Lu Shaoqing. The two women looked at each other with smiles on their faces, but they were secretly judging each other with their swords and knives. Chapter 4953. Lu Shaoqing was the type of woman who had a hot body but a pure appearance. Two completely different temperaments fused together in her body. It was like a deadly poison that attracted others to conquer her. Lung Zishi was the type of woman who had a tall figure and a cute appearance, who asked her to have a baby face. She looked like she was 16 or 17 years old. There was a saying that a girl next door had just grown up. It was referring to a little beauty like Lung Zishi. The two great beauties naturally had their own merits. Lu Shaoqing admired Lin Feng. She was different from Shui Yuexin. Shui Yuexin was the more idealistic kind of person. On the other hand, Lu Shaoqing was used to all kinds of deceit and scheming in the cultivation world. She was also used to all kinds of dark things. Thus, she was a more rational person. In her opinion, an outstanding man like Lin Feng would definitely not lack women by his side. If she could become Lin Feng's woman, she would already be satisfied. How could she still hope to obtain all of Lin Feng? Thus, when she saw Lung Zishi beside Lin Feng, she did not find it strange. She was just a little surprised that Shui Yuexin was not by Lin Feng's side. Could it be that something unpleasant happened between Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin? Thinking of this, Lu Shaoqing was a little gloating. She knew Shui Yuexin quite well. After all, they had been in the little western paradise city for many years, and they often interacted with each other. Thus, she felt that even if Lin Feng and Shui Yuexin really got together, it would not last for long. Now, it seemed that her guess was right. Lu Shaoqing did not care whether Lin Feng was sentimental or not. The only thing she cared about was when she could get together with Lin Feng. I'll bring you to the VIP lounge to rest for a while. The auction has not officially started yet. This time, Yun Tianyu has brought a total of 97 auction items. There are some good things among them. If you see anything that you like, you can bid for it. Lu Shaoqing said. Lin Feng nodded and said, "All right, then we'll see if there's anything we like. When the auction ends, I'll have to trouble you to introduce me to Yun Tianyu." Yun Tianyu actually didn't like to interact with outsiders. Every time he came to Little Western Paradise City to sell things, he basically wouldn't interact with outsiders. After selling his things, he would take the immortal stones and leave. This was Yun Tianyu's rule. Lu Shaoqing was also aware of this, but she didn't tell Lin Feng. She was very happy to be able to help Lin Feng. Therefore, she didn't mind telling Yun Tianyu about this. After all, they had been working together for a long time. Perhaps Yun Tianyu would relent because of this. Lu Shaoqing smiled and said, "Don't worry, young master. This servant will definitely give young master and Yun Tianyu a chance to meet alone." "Thank you, fairy." Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "Young master, you don't have to be so polite." Lu Shaoqing grabbed Lin Feng's hand and said with a charming smile. She even pinched Lin Feng's palm with her jade-like fingers. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Lu Shaoqing was really seducing him all the time. Lu Shaoqing's little actions naturally couldn't be hidden from Lung Zishi. Lung Zishi saw all of this, but she didn't say anything. Lu Shaoqing still had a lot of things to deal with, so after bringing Lin Feng and Lung Zishi to the VIP lounge, she bid farewell and left. As for Lin Feng and Lung Zishi, they were drinking tea in the VIP lounge. Lung Zishi kicked Lin Feng and said, "You stinking brat, you're really flirting with women everywhere. Wherever you go, you'll find your soulmate." Lin Feng smiled bitterly and said, "I didn't take the initiative to provoke them. They're the ones who want to throw themselves at me, okay? You also know that as a man, if you're too charming, it's indeed possible to attract bees and butterflies." "You're too charming? You really have the nerve to flatter yourself. Don't you feel ashamed?" Lung Zishi curled her lips and said, although she didn't admit that Lin Feng's charm was greater, she didn't think so in her heart. From Lung Zishi's perspective as a woman, Lin Feng was indeed more charming and more attractive to girls. First of all, in terms of appearance, Lin Feng was more handsome. Lin Feng's handsomeness was the masculine kind of handsomeness of a man, not the kind of handsomeness of a man. There were many extremely beautiful men in the world of cultivators. Those men were beautiful not handsome. Those men even wore makeup and had a more feminine temperament. Many women liked such men, but even more women didn't like those men who were more feminine. Especially those goddess-like women. They liked men like Lin Feng, who were full of masculinity. Secondly, Lin Feng's talent and strength were powerful. In the world of cultivators, the most attractive thing was not the appearance, but the strength, cultivation, and talent. After all, this was a world where the strong were respected. In the case of strength, cultivation, and talent, having a better appearance was naturally a bonus. It was easy to become a Prince Charming. Finally, Lin Feng's character was very good. Although she didn't spend much time with Lin Feng, Leng Zixi still found a lot of character merits in Lin Feng. Let's not talk about anything else. Just one point. Lin Feng was very kind. It was easy to judge this point. Leng Zixi and Lin Feng weren't friends in the beginning, but Leng Zixi deceived Lin Feng. However, when Leng Zixi was injured and dying, Lin Feng still helped her. Even though Lin Feng had punished Leng Zixi and made her his personal maid, it wasn't a big deal. Therefore, Leng Zixi felt that Lin Feng was very kind. In the world of cultivators, there were too many deceit and there were too many vicious people. The word kind didn't seem to be suitable for the world of cultivators. However, Lin Feng was very kind. Just this point alone was enough to make many goddess-like beauties fall in love with Lin Feng. Of course, Leng Zixi's thoughts were her own thoughts. She wouldn't say them out loud. She couldn't help but insult Lin Feng a few times, or at least make fun of him. She didn't want to talk to Lin Feng in a soft and gentle way. That had something to do with her personality. Lin Feng didn't say much about Leng Zixi's rebuttal. It wasn't good for him to say much about this kind of thing. However, Leng Zixi obviously liked to gossip. She continued, "Do you want me to create an opportunity for you to take down that beauty in one fell swoop?" "What nonsense are you talking about?" Lin Feng couldn't help but roll his eyes. He said, "If you dare to talk nonsense again, I'll serve you even more when we go back." Chapter 4954. When the auction started, Lu Xiaoqing came to the VIP lounge and led Lin Feng and Leng Zixi to the auction. This was a small auction. There were fewer people in this kind of auction, but the standard was higher. Those who could participate in this auction were all famous figures. For example, there was a huge underground auction house in the Sacred Treasure Pavilion that could accommodate 100,000 people. However, this small auction house only had 1,300 people. Everyone gathered in the small auction house. Yun Tianyu did not attend this auction. He only needed to wait for the items to be auctioned and take away the immortal stones he deserved. There was no need for him to participate in this auction. Lin Feng and Leng Zixi found a place to sit down. The auctioneer was not Lu Xiaoqing, but an old man and a beautiful woman. Seeing that almost everyone had arrived, the old man said loudly, "Ladies and gentlemen, I am the auctioneer of the Sacred Treasure Pavilion, Sidu Hai. This is my partner, Shangguan Jianing. Today's auction will be hosted by the two of us. Now, let's bring out the first auction item." After Sidu Hai finished speaking, a beautiful maidservant brought out an item. It was a porcelain bottle. However, no one knew what was in the bottle. Shangguan Jianing said with a smile, "I think everyone must be very curious about this auction item. This is a good item. It is the 9-heaven cloud, Mist Immortal Spring. Some of you must have heard of this immortal spring. This immortal spring is found in the land of death, in the heaven realm. The spring water is extremely precious. Even in the heaven realm, it is extremely precious. The spring water of the 9-heaven cloud, Mist Immortal Spring, can be used for cultivation, and it can also be used to refine all kinds of top elixirs. It's actually this kind of item." Good item. It's really good. We must get it. After hearing Shangguan Jianning's introduction, the crowd burst into an uproar. Such a good item would naturally make people go crazy. Shangguan Jianning continued, the starting price of the 9-heaven cloud mist immortal spring is 3 million. Each increase must not be less than 300,000. Ladies and gentlemen, you can start bidding now. 4 million. Soon, someone broke the silence and called out a price. 5 million. Then, someone called out a new price. 6 million. 7 million. 7,500,000. 8, 3 million. 8, 6 million. 10 million. More and more cultivators joined the competition. This was a treasure that could be used to refine top-grade immortal pills that could be directly refined and absorbed to improve one's cultivation. Naturally, its value was unimaginable. Therefore, the final price was usually extremely high. Lin Feng estimated that the price of the 9 heavens cloud immortal spring would be around 80 to 90 million. If it was higher, it could even reach a sky-high price of 100 million. Lin Feng didn't want to waste any more time and directly quoted a price of 100 million. After hearing this price, everyone was shocked. This price scared off a lot of people and made some people frown. These cultivators were naturally interested in the 9 heavens cloud immortal spring, but the price of 100 million made them hesitate. It's the young master who killed evil monk Yuan Hai and the others. Someone recognized Lin Feng and exclaimed. Back then, Lin Feng had killed evil monk Yuan Hai, evil monk Yuan Ji, and the others in the Western Paradise City and caused a huge uproar. Among the 4 great evil monks, evil monk Yuan Hai and the other 2 weren't a big deal. The key was that their eldest senior brother, evil monk Yuan Fa, was a true immortal expert. An expert like Yuan Fa would be an overlord wherever he went. However, he was killed by Lin Feng in a single move during the battle with Lin Feng. At that time, the cultivators present were shocked. What? He's the young master who killed the 4 great evil monks. Many people exclaimed, "That's right, it's him." Someone gave a definite answer. Many people exclaimed in shock. During this period of time, they had heard countless people talking about this matter. Now that they finally saw the young master in person, their hearts were in great turmoil. Those who were still considering competing with Lin Feng withdrew from the bidding. They didn't want to offend a young expert like Lin Feng. In the end, the 9 heavens cloud immortal fountain was bought by Lin Feng for a sky-high price of 100 million. Lung Zishi said, "Are you very famous? Why do I feel like those people are looking at you with reverence?" Lin Feng said, "I wouldn't dare say that I'm very strong, but I'm quite famous." Lung Zishi pursed her lips but didn't refute. Next, one item after another was taken out for auction. Those items were extremely precious, but most of them were sold for less than 30 million celestial stones. Only a few items were sold for more than 30 million celestial stones. Lin Feng had just bought the 9 heavenly clouds and mist celestial spring for 100 million celestial stones. Lin Feng didn't participate in the bidding for the following items. Very few items could attract Lin Feng's attention. The final item of the auction was a treasured seal, and it was bought by someone for 300 million immortal stones. The auction came to an end. The cultivators who bought the item they wanted were naturally very happy. The cultivators who didn't get the item they wanted were a little depressed. Lin Feng went to pay the 100 million immortal stones. Then, the other party gave the 9 heavens cloud immortal fountain to Lin Feng. Yun Tianyu estimated that this auction would be able to get 2 or 3 billion immortal stones. This was a lot of immortal stones. It would be enough to maintain a sect's normal operations for a long time. Lu Shaoqing found Lin Feng and Lung Zishi. Lu Shaoqing said, "Young master, I just talked to Yun Tianyu. Yun Tianyu wants to meet you, but Fairy Lung, Yun Tianyu won't be meeting you. Fairy Lung, you can rest in the VIP lounge for a while and wait for young master to come. I'll go out for a walk and see if there's anything good in the black market. Lung Zishi had a restless personality. If she was with Lin Feng, he could stay in one place for a while. If she had to wait in the VIP lounge alone, wouldn't she be bored to death? Lin Feng nodded and said, "Okay, be careful." Hee, don't worry. I'll take care of myself, Lung Zishi said with a smile. Then she left the Sacred Treasure Pavilion. Chapter 49:55. On the way, Lu Shaoqing looked at Lin Feng with a smile. Lin Feng touched his face and asked, "Why are you looking at me like that? Is there something on my face?" "No," Lu Shaoqing said. She then continued, "I'm just happy." "Why are you happy?" Lin Feng asked. Lu Shaoqing said, "Because I can help you. This makes me very happy." After hearing Lu Shaoqing's words, Lin Feng suddenly felt as if something in his heart had been touched. In truth, how could Lin Feng not know that meeting Yun Tianyu was definitely not an easy task? Lu Shaoqing must have said a lot of good things about him. Although Lin Feng did not say it out loud, he knew very well in his heart. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to find some good things in his time and space and give them to Lu Shaoqing as a reward. However, after hearing Lu Shaoqing's words, Lin Feng dispelled this idea. Lu Shaoqing's words touched the softest part of Lin Feng's heart. Lu Shaoqing had previously expressed her feelings to Lin Feng, but Lin Feng did not accept it. Even so, Lu Shaoqing was still helping Lin Feng. How could Lin Feng turn a blind eye to their friendship? "How about we go on a cruise together tonight?" Lin Feng asked. "Really?" After hearing Lin Feng's invitation, Lu Shaoqing's eyes instantly lit up. "Of course." Lin Feng nodded. Lu Shaoqing immediately became happy. If possible, she really wanted to hug Lin Feng. Fortunately, she restrained herself in time. Not long after, Lin Feng arrived at the VIP lounge where Yun Tianyu was resting. When he saw Lin Feng arrive, Yun Tianyu stood up and said with a smile, "Little friend Ji, I've heard of your name. I've heard of your name before, but may I know why you're looking for me?" Lu Shaoqing knew that Lin Feng and Yun Tianyu definitely had something important to discuss, so she left the VIP lounge. Lin Feng cupped his fists and said, "Senior Yun, actually this junior's real name is Lin Feng. Junior wishes to inquire about the whereabouts of a person from Senior." "Lin Feng? The sinner's Emperor Lin Feng?" Yun Tianyu was shocked. He clearly didn't expect Lin Feng's identity. Now that he knew Lin Feng's true identity, he couldn't help but be shocked. He had heard the name Lin Feng countless times. "That's me," Lin Feng said. "How can you prove it?" Yun Tianyu narrowed his eyes and looked at Lin Feng. Lin Feng didn't say anything else. Instead, he activated his sovereign emperor's blood. The sovereign of the imperial clan is indeed the emperor of the sinner's blood. Yun Tianyu nodded. Then he asked, "What do you want to inquire about from me?" Lin Feng took out the letter Feng Yaoguang had sent him and said, "I believe Senior must have seen this special paper before. This is a letter sent to me by a close female friend of mine. This paper is used only by the ancient survivors. Back then, when I was in the 9 provinces, I met this close female friend of mine and had a very good relationship with her. However, this close female friend of mine had a very important matter to deal with, and she was worried that she would implicate me, so she left without saying goodbye. This is the last letter I received. She seems to have encountered some trouble, but I don't know what kind of trouble she has encountered. I suspect that she is an ancient survivor, but I don't know where she is, so I wish to inquire about her from Senior," Yun Tianyu said. "It has been a while since I went to the ancient survivors, so I don't know anything about this close female friend of yours." I'm not particularly sure if she's with the ancient survivors. This time, I plan to go to the place where the ancient survivors live in seclusion. When the time comes, I'll help you inquire about it. Whether or not I find the news of your confidant, I'll find a way to inform you. Lin Feng said, "Can you take me with you to the ancient survivors?" Yun Tianyu said, "I really can't help you with this. Without their permission, I can't bring anyone to their place of residence. I hope you can understand the ancient survivors. Back then, they were betrayed by their trusted friends, which was why the other powers found out where they were hiding. In the end, many of them died miserably. I don't know if you know about the betrayal of the ancient survivors, but you should have heard about their heavy losses." Lin Feng had indeed heard about this matter. Lin Feng even heard that Yun Tianyu's lover had fallen in this battle, so Yun Tianyu must be very emotional about this matter. Lin Feng said, "Okay, then I will wait for Senior's news in the Western Paradise." Yun Tianyu nodded. Lin Feng then bid farewell and left. Seeing Lin Feng come out, Lu Shaoqing smiled and said, "Did the discussion go smoothly, young master?" Lin Feng smiled wryly. The result was worse than he had thought. Lin Feng wanted to go to the 10,000 Ancient Remnant personally, but now he couldn't go to the Ancient Remnant anymore. He had to wait for Yun Tianyu's news. Of course, Lin Feng didn't tell Lu Shaoqing about the troubles in his heart. He said, "It went smoothly. I'll go back first. Let's meet again tonight. Go entertain Yun Tianyu." "All right. Take care, young master," Lu Shaoqing said. Lin Feng nodded and left the Saint Treasure Pavilion. Not long after he returned to his residence, Lung Zishi returned with a mysterious look. Lin Feng asked around and found out that Lung Zishi had found a good treasure. It was a special energy body formed by condensing a very special energy. Moreover, this special energy body had a great effect on Lung Zishi's cultivation. Therefore, Lung Zishi needed to spend some time to refine this special energy body. After a simple conversation, Lung Zishi went to refine the special energy body. At night, Lin Feng went to the Saint Treasure Pavilion and invited Lu Shaoqing to go on a cruise. Lu Shaoqing had clearly dressed up. She wore a long white dress, which made her look even more ethereal. Seeing how charming Lu Shaoqing was, Lin Feng's eyes couldn't help but light up slightly. Lu Shaoqing was very good at reading people's expressions. Naturally, the changes on Lin Feng's face couldn't be hidden from Lu Shaoqing's eyes. Lu Shaoqing was delighted. As the saying went, a woman would dress up for the one she liked. Which woman didn't like being admired? Moreover, it was being admired by the person she liked. Lu Shaoqing naturally hoped so. She had always been looking forward to being able to take a step further with Lin Feng. Chapter 4956. The river in the city was called the Xiliang River. It was about 100 meters wide. Compared to the huge ancient city, the Xiliang River scale was naturally not big. In the Xiliang River, there were many brothel boats and many pleasure boats. Brothel boats and pleasure boats were different. Brothel boats were equivalent to floating brothels on the Xiliang River. On the other hand, pleasure boats were boats rented by cultivators. They could follow the river and enjoy the scenery on both sides of the river. Isn't that fairy Lu Shaoqing? She actually went on a pleasure boat with a man. TSK, who is that man? She is going to enjoy the blessings of having multiple partners. This Lu Shaoqing really has a good appetite. She doesn't reject any man. What nonsense are you talking about? Do you really think that the rumors in the outside world are true? According to what I know, there are many peak-level geniuses who are pursuing Lu Shaoqing. However, no one succeeded. The rumors outside say that Lu Shaoqing is a promiscuous woman. However, that is just a smear on Lu Xiaoqing's reputation. I have also heard of this matter. I heard that the son of the city lord of Little Western Paradise City was pursuing Lu Xiaoqing. However, Lu Xiaoqing did not agree. Later on, Lu Xiaoqing's scandal spread out. I reckon it was caused by that fellow. Didn't that fellow leave Little Western Paradise City many years ago? I heard that he went to the ancestral land of Ba Ji Palace to cultivate. However, I heard that he returned a few days ago. Many cultivators started to discuss. At this moment, Lin Feng and Lu Xiaoqing had already boarded the pleasure boat. There were many servants on the pleasure boat. There were even many beautiful singers, dancers, and musicians. Actually, renting a pleasure boat was very expensive. An ordinary pleasure boat cost 10,000 immortal stones a day. A top-grade pleasure boat cost 100,000 immortal stones. The reason was that there were many servants on the pleasure boat, especially those women. They were proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. Lin Feng wasn't interested in watching the performances of the singers, dancers, or musicians. He just waited for the maids to bring him some food and drink. After the dishes were served, Lin Feng dismissed them. Lu Xiaoqing came to Lin Feng's side. She knelt beside the table and poured wine for Lin Feng, admiring this beauty at such a close distance. It was really quite comfortable. "Young master, this wine was brought by me. It's called the 8 Treasures wine. It's said that 8 kinds of extremely precious ingredients were added to it. Not only does it have an extremely good effect on cultivation, it's also said to be able to clear the eyes, nourish the spirit, and nourish the yin and yang." Lu Xiaoqing said, "Thank you, fairy." Lin Feng took the wine cup from Lu Xiaoqing and drank it in one gulp. "Fairy, what plans do you have for the future? Have you been staying in the Saint Treasure Pavilion all this time?" Lin Feng asked Lu Xiaoqing. Lu Xiaoqing said, "The world is chaotic and life is difficult. If there are no accidents, I won't leave the Saint Treasure building. However, nothing is absolute. Who knows what will happen in the future?" Lin Feng gently pinched Lu Xiaoqing's snow-white chin and said, "What if I ask you to follow me? Will you leave the Saint Treasure Pavilion?" Lu Xiaoqing's eyes lit up as she asked, "Is young master serious?" "Of course." Lin Feng pulled Lu Xiaoqing into his arms. On another boat, more than 10 young masters were gathered. These young masters all had extraordinary auras, and it was obvious that they were all from famous clans. Every young master was accompanied by 2 women. The young master leading the group was none other than the son of the city lord, Situ Tianai. Situ Tianai's background was extremely extraordinary. His father was appointed by the 8 Extreme Palace to be the city lord of Little Western Paradise City. Although the city lord didn't have much authority because there were too many factions stationed in Little Western Paradise City, he was still the city lord of Little Western Paradise City. However, he was still the city lord of Little Western Paradise City, and his status was still very respected. Situ Tianai was also a young cultivator with great talent. Because of his father, he was highly valued by the 8 Extreme Palace. In addition, Situ Tianai was young Master Mingyue's cousin. Young Master Mingyue even had to call Situ Tianai cousin. Brother Situ's cultivation will definitely soar after coming out of seclusion from the 8 Extreme Palace's ancestral land. We will have to rely on Brother Situ's care in the future. A young master said, "Brother Situ will definitely be a supreme figure in the future. Even someone like young Master Mingyue will probably be suppressed by Brother Situ. We will definitely have a meteoric rise if we follow Brother Situ." Another cultivator said, "These people were all flattering Situ Tianai. Situ Tianai accepted their flattery with a clear conscience. In fact, Situ Tianai had always been jealous of his cousin, young Master Mingyue. Ever since he was young, his brilliance had been overshadowed by young Master Mingyue. This made Situ Tianai rather depressed. Of course, he was a scheming person, so he didn't show his jealousy. Although he wouldn't express his jealousy of young Master Mingyue, Situ Tianai still felt rather good when others flattered him and said that he would be able to suppress young Master Mingyue in the future. In fact, Situ Tianai wasn't a simple person after going through his past. For example, Situ Tianai had once used his connections to find a gathering place for the ancient survivors more than 10,000 years ago. He had personally led a team to raise the gathering place to the ground, killing more than 17,000 ancient survivors and capturing more than 8,000 of them alive. This was a great achievement. Situ Tianya's ability could be seen from this. Therefore, some of the higher-ups in the 8 Extreme Palace were rather optimistic about Situ Tianai and felt that he would be able to achieve great things. Otherwise, even if Situ Tianya's father had pleaded with the higher-ups of the 8 Extreme Palace, the higher-ups of the 8 Extreme Palace wouldn't focus on nurturing Situ Tianai. The higher-ups of these large family clans wouldn't let their emotions affect their decisions. They would only nurture someone if they were worthy of nurturing. Now that Situ Tianai had come out of seclusion, he was very pleased with himself. Since all of you have taken a fancy to me, Situ Tianai, I'm not a pretentious person. I won't treat you unfairly if you follow me in the future. After saying that, Situ Tianai raised his wine cup and said, "Let me toast to all of you." Everyone raised their cups and drained it in one gulp. At this moment, someone came to the flower boat and said apologetically, "Brother Situ, everyone, I'm really sorry for being late." The person who had come was a thin young man in green clothes. His name was Wang Dong. His father was one of the 10 great itinerant immortals of the small Western Paradise region, the divine Eye Supremacy. He was a genuine immortal realm expert. Therefore, Wang Dong's status was rather extraordinary. As the saying went, a son's status depended on his father. Chapter 4957. Situ Tianai smiled and said, "You're not late at all. The gathering has just begun. Brother Wang, please take a seat." Wang Dong found a place to sit and said, "If I'm late, then I'm late. If I'm late, then I'll be punished. How about this? I'll drink 3 cups as punishment." The maidservant beside Situ Tianai poured wine for Wang Dong. Wang Dong downed 3 cups in a row. Situ Tianai smiled and said, "Brother Wang is so forthright. How about we toast to Brother Wang as well?" "It's our honor to toast to Brother Wang," the group hurriedly said. Under Situ Tianya's lead, everyone toasted Wang Dong. Wang Dong smiled and raised his cup with everyone. After putting down his cup, Wang Dong said, "When I arrived, I saw many people pointing at a man and a woman. When I looked over, I realized that the woman was actually Lu Shaoqing. She boarded the ship with a man, but I don't know who that man is." Wang Dong had just arrived at the Western Paradise City, so he didn't know Lin Feng. However, he knew Lu Shaoqing. Wang Dong knew about the relationship between Situ Tianai and Lu Shaoqing. Now that he mentioned Lu Shaoqing's secret rendezvous with another man, it was naturally for Situ Tianai to hear about it. Wang Dong wasn't a simple person either. People called him the Smiling Gentleman, and he always had an amiable expression on his face. However, his methods were more sinister, and he probably didn't have any good intentions when he said those words. "Lu Shaoqing, it's been a long time since I've seen her. I was just thinking of meeting her." Situ Tianya's lips curled into a cold smile. Back then, Lu Shaoqing had rejected his advances for 2 reasons. First, Lu Shaoqing didn't have any feelings for Situ Tianai. Second, Lu Shaoqing knew that Situ Tianai wasn't a kind-hearted person. Such a person would naturally act like he wouldn't marry anyone other than you before he got you. But after he got you, his attitude would definitely change. Lu Shaoqing had seen too many people, so she naturally knew what a person with Sidu Tianya's personality would do in the future. Moreover, she also knew that Sidu Tianai was a sinister person who would never give up in order to achieve his goals. Back then, when he massacred the ancient survivors, his personality had been fully displayed. Lu Shaoqing was the kind of person who still retained her kindness even after experiencing all kinds of hardships. Putting everything else aside, Lu Shaoqing would never agree to Sidu Tianya's wanton massacre of the ancient survivors. At that time, Sidu Tianai actually wanted to use force on Lu Shaoqing, although Lu Shaoqing had the Saint Treasure Building behind her, and the Saint Treasure Building also had a powerful background. So what? Sidu Tianai didn't care about this at all. No matter how powerful his background was, could it be more powerful than the 8-level palace? Moreover, Lu Shaoqing's status in the Saint Treasure Pavilion wasn't particularly high because she was only the person in charge of the Saint Treasure Pavilion's branch in the Western Paradise City. Although she had some background, it wasn't deep. So what if he used force on her? Could it be that someone was blind enough to offend the 8-level palace? However, before he took action, the 8-level palace's higher-ups urgently summoned Sidu Tianai to the 8-level palace's ancestral land. Sidu Tianai had no choice but to put this plan on hold. However, this guy was indeed a good-for-nothing. Before he left, he even ordered people to spread rumors that slandered Lu Shaoqing. Sidu Tianai originally wanted to teach Lu Shaoqing a lesson when he returned. However, he had been busy with various social engagements and didn't have time to deal with Lu Shaoqing. Now that he heard that Lu Shaoqing was meeting another man in private, how could Sidu Tianai stand it? His heart was filled with anger and jealousy. At this moment, Lin Feng directly carried Lu Shaoqing and walked towards the inner room. Lu Shaoqing's hands were wrapped around Lin Feng's neck. She was at the peak of her passion, so she wanted to completely give herself to Lin Feng. However, at this moment, the voice of the guard on the flower boat came from outside. "Young masters, this boat has been booked by someone. Without permission, you can't force your way in. Are you blind? How dare you stop us?" At this moment, there were shouts and curses coming from outside. The guards didn't dare to say anything else. Some people were indeed people they couldn't afford to offend. Lin Feng was a little angry. It seemed that someone was trying to force their way into the boat. Lu Shaoqing quickly struggled to get down and tidied up her messy clothes with a red face. Just as she finished tidying up, Sidu Tianai and the others had already barged in. When he saw Lu Shaoqing's red face and watery eyes, he wanted to kill her. Sidu Tianai even had the urge to kill. His face was as gloomy as it could get. "Get out," Lin Feng said coldly. "Kid, who do you think you are? You know who we are? How dare you tell us to get out? You're courting death." One of the young masters sneered. This young master wanted to flatter Sidu Tianai, so he was the first to step forward. However, there were also some who recognized Lin Feng. When they saw Lin Feng, their faces turned pale. Their legs were about to give way. How did they offend this murderous god? Those young masters almost wanted to cry out loud. They had seen with their own eyes how Lin Feng had killed the 4 evil monks. Even the 4 evil monks had been killed by Lin Feng in an instant, let alone them. "Young Master Ji, this is all a misunderstanding. We'll leave right now." A few of the young masters who recognized Lin Feng hurriedly apologized and turned to leave. "Young Master Ji, could it be that young Master Ji, who killed the 4 evil monks?" The others came back to their senses. Although they had never seen Lin Feng before, they had heard of the 4 evil monks. But they had also heard that Lin Feng had killed the 4 evil monks. Now that they knew this young man was Prince Ji, they were all scared out of their wits and started shaking violently. "Young Master Ji, it's all a misunderstanding. We'll leave too," the young masters shouted in horror. After apologizing, they hurriedly left. There were only 3 people left: Situ Tianai, the young master who had scolded Lin Feng, and Wang Dong. The young master who had scolded Lin Feng fell to his knees with a thump. Bang, bang, bang. Then he kept kowtowing to Lin Feng. "Young Master Ji, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mao Tai. Please, young Master Ji, treat me as a dog and let me go," the young master begged. Lu Shaoqing smiled bitterly at the side. These top-notch young masters were lofty existences wherever they went, but now they were scared half to death. Lu Shaoqing rejoiced at the thought of becoming Lin Feng's woman. Such a domineering man gave her an unprecedented sense of security. Get out. Chapter 4958. You're that, Ji? I've heard of you. I've wanted to meet you for a long time after I heard that you killed the 4 great evil monks. I never expected to meet you under such circumstances. Situ Tianai didn't seem to be afraid of Lin Feng. He smiled and spoke slowly. "Get out and kneel outside." Lin Feng looked at Situ Tianai indifferently. He didn't like this guy, so there was no need for him to be polite. Situ Tianai sneered. "You're really full of yourself. I know that you have some impressive means, but so what? You're still no match for me. This woman is the woman I've taken a liking to. You should know how powerful the Baji Palace is, so I don't think I need to remind you how to behave. However, I can overlook what you just said on account of the fact that you're also a top-notch genius. However, you have to hand over this woman. After you hand her over to me, I'll consider you my friend." Situ Tianai really thought too highly of himself. He spoke frankly and confidently in front of Lin Feng. His arrogant attitude made people want to beat him up. Situ Tianai, who came from a powerful organization, naturally had something to rely on. Since he had heard about Lin Feng and knew that Lin Feng had killed the 4 great evil monks, it was obvious that Situ Tianai had some terrifying means. Lin Feng didn't know what kind of means Situ Tianai had. However, regardless of what kind of means Situ Tianai had, Lin Feng wasn't afraid. The ignorant are fearless. Lin Feng looked at Situ Tianai and spat out these words coldly. These words fully displayed Lin Feng's disdain for Situ Tianai. After hearing Lin Feng's ridicule, Situ Tianai's face suddenly turned extremely gloomy. He was an extremely arrogant person and thought that he was superior to others. Now that he was being ridiculed by Lin Feng, he was naturally furious. He sneered and said, "You don't know the immensity of heaven and earth just because you have some ability. Today, I'll show you how powerful I am." As soon as he finished speaking, Situ Tianai took a step forward and blasted his palm towards Lin Feng. A mysterious 8 trigrams pattern appeared on his palm. The divine ability he used was called the 8 trigrams universe palm. It was one of the top inheritances of the Baji Palace and was very powerful. Situ Tianai knew many powerful divine abilities, but the 8 trigrams universe palm was Situ Tianai's favorite divine ability. Not only was this divine ability powerful, but it was also one of the few top divine abilities that Situ Tianai had cultivated to the great perfection realm. Therefore, Situ Tianai often used this divine ability against his enemies. Now, when facing Lin Feng, Situ Tianai also used this divine ability. Lin Feng had a sneer on his face. In the face of Situ Tianai's attack, Lin Feng unleashed a palm strike at Situ Tianai. Lin Feng didn't even use any divine abilities. He only channeled a bit of his own magic power. Even without the support of a divine ability, the power of Lin Feng's palm strike was still frightening to the point of horror. Boom! In the next moment, Lin Feng and Situ Tianai fiercely collided. After the collision, Lin Feng was completely fine, but Situ Tianai was pushed back by Lin Feng. How can this be? Situ Tianya's expression immediately turned ugly. Situ Tian, Yi knew what evil monk Yuan Fa's cultivation level was. Even though evil monk Yuan Fa was also a true celestial cultivator, he had only just broken through to the true celestial layer. The reason why evil monk Yuan Fa had broken through to the true celestial layer was because he had used some evil techniques. Because of that, he was much weaker than other true celestial cultivators of the same level. Therefore, Situ Tian, Yi wasn't surprised that Lin Feng had been able to kill evil monk Yuan Fa. Many top geniuses in the Undying Realm had the strength to kill evil monk Yuan Fa. Situ Tianya's ability was very strong to begin with. After returning to the ancestral ground and obtaining a fortune, his cultivation had greatly increased. Therefore, Situ Tianai was very confident in himself. This was also the reason why he didn't put Lin Feng in his eyes. However, after the fight, Situ Tianai realized that he was gravely mistaken. Lin Feng's battle power was too strong, far stronger than he had imagined. When you attacked earlier, a mark seemed to have formed in your dantian. That mark boosted your battle power by a large amount. Even so, you're still too weak. I'm quite surprised by the mysterious mark in your dantian. What kind of mark is that? Lin Feng asked. Situ Tianya's expression was gloomy. He didn't answer Lin Feng. Lu Shaoqing said, "Young master, that mark is called the Ancestor's Mark. It is said that many special bloodlines can awaken the Ancestor's Mark. Depending on the bloodline, the time it takes to awaken the Ancestor's Mark is also different. Some bloodlines can awaken the Ancestor's Mark during their first or second transformation, but some bloodlines require more bloodline awakenings before they can awaken the Ancestor's Mark. The stronger the bloodline, the later it takes to awaken the Ancestor's Mark." Lin Feng's heart skipped a beat when he heard Lu Xiaoqing's explanation. His undying bloodline had awakened a golden humanoid figure. That golden humanoid figure could provide him with a large amount of energy to increase his battle power. Could that golden humanoid figure be his ancestor's mark? However, after thinking about it carefully, that didn't seem to be the case. Although the golden humanoid figure could increase his battle power, it didn't have the aura of the ancestor's mark. The ancestor's mark clearly had a special aura. If he had to give that aura a specific name, he could call it the ancestor's aura. There was no need to mention the sovereign bloodline. Even with the powerful Adler bloodline, it was impossible for him to awaken the ancestor's mark. Today's matter was purely a misunderstanding. Let's forget about it, Situ Tianai suddenly said. Then he turned around and left. Lin Feng sneered. "Did I say you could leave?" Situ Tianai said with a gloomy expression. "What do you mean by that? Do you want to fight me to the death? I admit that you are very strong, but I have many tricks up my sleeve that I haven't used yet. Even if I use them, I won't necessarily be afraid of you. Moreover, you must remember that this is the little Western Paradise City. There are many experts of my 8 Extreme Palace stationed here. If you know what's good for you, you should know that taking a step back is beneficial to both you and me." Chapter 49-59. Situ Tianai had emphasized that there were experts from the 8 Extreme Palace stationed in the Western Paradise to intimidate Lin Feng. However, Lin Feng had never been afraid of threats. Lin Feng did not take Situ Tianya's threat to heart. So what if you're from the 8 Extreme Palace? Do you believe that I'll destroy the 8 Extreme Palace sooner or later? Lin Feng replied with a sneer. "You..." Situ Tianya's expression sank. Lin Feng walked toward Situ Tianai and said, One has to pay the price for one's wrongdoings. That's the logic. Don't you understand that? You said that you have some powerful hidden techniques. I'd like to see what they are. As soon as Sidhu Tianai finished speaking, Lin Feng executed an extremely powerful divine ability. Behind Lin Feng, a mysterious and ancient world appeared. In that mysterious and ancient world, the sound of monks chanting could be heard. Countless monks were reciting Buddhist scriptures. These monks were surrounded by an endless amount of Buddhist light. The Buddhist light was dazzling and sacred. The Buddhist light illuminated the world. It dispelled the evil in the world. Suddenly, the densely packed monks fused together and transformed into a huge ancient Buddha. It was a Buddha as if it was the Lord of all Buddhas. Lin Feng sent a palm strike toward Sidhu Tianai. The Buddha's actions were exactly the same as Lin Feng's. At this moment, Lin Feng seemed to have fused with the Buddha. His strength had fused with the Buddha. Lin Feng even felt as if he had transformed into an ancient Buddha. His every move contained the supreme profoundness of Buddhism. This was Lin Feng's supreme Buddhist divine ability, all true Buddhas. This was a divine ability passed down by Buddhas. An existence of the Buddha level was roughly equivalent to an ancient saint king or a devil lord. The techniques passed down by existences of this level were naturally unimaginable. They were powerful to the point that others couldn't help but be shocked. Now, this technique was being used, and it indeed erupted with a terrifying power that left others in awe. After sensing the terrifying power of Lin Feng's attack, Sidhu Tianai's expression changed drastically. Ancestors' protection. Sidhu Tianai shouted coldly. He summoned a protective seal and placed it in front of him. Bang! Lin Feng's terrifying palm strike struck the ancestors' protection. The ancestors' protection actually blocked Lin Feng's attack. Sidhu Tianai's methods were truly powerful. However, his expression did not change. He's protection. Bang! 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 After 3 consecutive violent collisions, the ancestors' protection summoned by Sidhu Tianai was destroyed by Lin Feng. At this moment, Sidhu Tianai's attack was completed. He sneered and said, "Kid, I'll let you have a taste of my power." Ancestors' fury. Sidhu Tianai roared. Then, he summoned another ancestor's seal. This time, the ancestor's seal was even more impressive. This ancestor's seal was called the Fury Seal. After the ancestor's fury, Sidhu Tianai would be strengthened by it. After being strengthened by the Fury Seal, Sidhu Tianai's combat strength would increase tremendously. Under normal circumstances, after being strengthened by the ancestor's Fury Seal, one's combat strength would increase by about 2 times. However, at most, it could increase one's combat strength by about 4 times. Currently, Sidhu Tianai's combat strength had not increased by 4 times. However, it had increased by about 3 times. This was Sidhu Tianai's trump card. Sidhu Tianai was known as a genius second only to young noble Mingyu in the 8-level palace. Naturally, his methods were extremely terrifying. When Sidhu Tianai used the ancestor's Fury Seal to increase his combat strength by 3 times, Lin Feng could not help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Lu Shaoqing, who was standing behind Lin Feng, was extremely worried. The combat strength that Sidhu Tianai had displayed was too terrifying. Although this method of increasing one's combat strength by several times usually could not be maintained for too long, however, during that time, Sidhu Tianai's battle strength had increased. He had enough time to fight against Lin Feng. Now that Sidhu Tianai was so powerful, Lu Shaoqing's heart was tied to Lin Feng. Naturally, she was extremely worried about Lin Feng's safety. "Kid, let's see how you're going to fight me." Sidhu Tianai was extremely arrogant. After being strengthened by 3 times his combat strength, he became extremely confident. It was no wonder that Situtianai was so confident. The current hymn was indeed ridiculously powerful. Situtianai did not think that Lin Feng was still a match for him, now that his combat strength had increased by 3 times. In his opinion, the current Lin Feng was no longer a threat. He could toy with Lin Feng any way he wanted to Lin Feng. It was a piece of cake. Emperor's scripture, human sovereign appear. Suddenly, Lin Feng let out a long roar. He used the Emperor's scripture, a supreme technique that was imparted to Lin Feng by Yaoji, the daughter of the human clan's ancestor, Shenong. It was a supreme inheritance created by Shenong. Once the Emperor's scripture was used, it could summon saint sovereigns to fight against the enemy. Lin Feng summoned the human sovereigns. 9 human sovereigns appeared behind Lin Feng. I am the human sovereign. Who dares to disobey me? Lin Feng stepped forward. He was determined to become the human clan's 10th human sovereign in the post-apocalyptic era. This was the main reason why Lin Feng had summoned the 9 human sovereigns. Human sovereign, enlighten the people. At that moment, the 9 human sovereigns spoke in unison. Enlightening the people was what the 9 human sovereigns had done their entire lives. The human clan was a nation of etiquette. They respected the elderly and cherished the young. They were benevolent to the father and filial to the son. There were also the 3 obediences and 4 virtues. All sorts of etiquette and morals were passed down by the human sovereign. The power of the 9 human sovereigns merged with Lin Feng. Lin Feng sent a palm strike towards Situtianai. Bang! Following a violent collision, Lin Feng and Situtianai collided. Situtianai was sent flying like a kite with a broken string. With a plop, Situtianai fell to the ground. No, that's impossible. Situtianai's eyes were bloodshot. He had used all his strength and even increased his strength by 3 times, but he had still been defeated by Lin Feng. He couldn't accept that. He was a proud and arrogant person. He couldn't accept defeat. Besides, he had been defeated so miserably. Situtianai's heart was pounding. You're pitifully weak. Killing you will only dirty my hands. Get out and kneel on the ground. Lin Feng waved his sleeve. Powerful magic power surged out and wrapped around Situtianai. Situtianai was sent flying outside. Lin Feng's magic power turned into sealing runes and sealed Situtianai. Chapter 49:60. Oh, my God, isn't that Situtianai? Why is he kneeling on the ground? There were many people on the riverside. Some were here to enjoy the boat with their friends, while others were here to enjoy themselves. Everyone knew a big shot like Situtianai, so when they saw him kneeling on the ground, many people exclaimed. Many cultivators suddenly exclaimed. The news spread from 1 to 10 and from 10 to 100. After many cultivators heard the news, they all rushed over to watch the show. When the cultivators who ran out earlier saw Situtianai kneeling on the ground with bloodshot eyes, they couldn't help but feel fear. That G guy was too cruel. Nothing good would come out of angering that guy. It's really Situtianai. Why is he kneeling here? I heard that Situtianai is an expert who can fight against a true immortal, but he's kneeling here. Who has the ability to make him kneel here? Just now, I saw Situtianai leading a group of people onto that boat. That boat seems to be Lu Xiaoqing's private rendezvous with a mysterious young master. Everyone should have heard about what happened between Situtianai and Lu Xiaoqing back then. Situtianai was naturally jealous of that mysterious young master. He probably boarded that boat to cause trouble for that young master. Not long after, a group of people ran out as if they were fleeing. Situtianai was thrown out and then sealed. Now, he's even kneeling on the ground to repent. I wonder who that young master is to be so powerful. I also saw Lu Shaoqing and a mysterious young master board the cruise ship. In fact, although Lu Xiaoqing's reputation isn't good, those who know the truth know that Lu Xiaoqing is a woman who loves herself very much. This is her first time dating someone outside. I think that mysterious young master must have successfully taken Lu Xiaoqing down. Everyone can imagine that mysterious young master and Lu Xiaoqing were being intimate when Situ Tianai interrupted them. Situ Tianai is a narrow-minded person. Back then, when he failed to pursue Lu Xiaoqing, he ordered people to spread rumors that Lu Xiaoqing didn't know how to restrain herself and that she was a fickle woman. Now that he saw Lu Xiaoqing being intimate with someone else, how could he tolerate it? Therefore, the two sides must have fought. Situ Tianai is so powerful, so logically speaking, Situ Tianai should have won. Who knew that the young master was even stronger? Instead, it was Situ Tianai who suffered a great loss. Hee, none of you know who that young master is, right? I know who that young master is. I've seen him before. Who is that young master? It's the young master who killed the 4 evil monks. What? It was actually him. Didn't they say that this young master and Shui Yuexin of the 100 Days Pavilion were together? Why are you with Lu Xiaoqing now? The goddess in our eyes may be unreachable, but in that young master's eyes, she may be nothing. So I don't think it's a big deal to get Shui Yuexin first, and then get Lu Xiaoqing. Don't talk about it anymore. Please don't talk about it anymore. My heart feels terrible. The 2 peerless fairies of our little Western paradise have fallen into the hands of the enemy just like that. Those who hear it will feel sad, and those who hear it will shed tears. Many cultivators were discussing the matter. Many of them were pointing at Situ Tianai, wanting to see him make a fool of himself. It was no wonder that people would laugh at him. Situ Tianai was not a good person. Moreover, he had massacred the timeless survivors. So many people had a bad opinion of him. After all, ordinary cultivators did not have any grudges with the timeless survivors. Instead, they sympathized with them. Ah, let me go. Let me go. Gee, you little bastard. How dare you humiliate me like this? I won't rest until you're dead. Situ Tianai kept struggling and roaring. His eyes had turned blood red. Right now, he only wanted to kill Lin Feng. Only then would he be able to vent the hatred in his heart. But if Situ Tianai wanted to kill Lin Feng, he could only dream about it. Seeing so many people staring at him like he was a monkey and pointing at him, Situ Tianai heard all sorts of mocking and gloating voices. Situ Tianai had never been humiliated like this before. Therefore, he was so angry that he spat out a mouthful of blood. His face also became as pale as paper. What was even more frightening was that he was bleeding from all 7 orifices. After seeing this scene, many people couldn't help but be shocked. Situ Tianai had actually gone mad. Meanwhile, Lin Feng's boat had drifted far away. Lin Feng looked at Wang Dong, who had not left, and asked, "Why aren't you leaving?" Wang Dong replied, "Because I want to be friends with young Master Ji." "Do you think I'll be friends with you?" Lin Feng looked at Wang Dong indifferently. He did not know this person and did not know where this person got the courage to think that he would be friends with him. Wang Dong said, "Of course you will. It's always a happy thing to have another friend." Wang Dong said. Lin Feng nodded. "I agree with that." "All right, I'll be friends with you then." Wang Dong said, "That's really a happy thing." Lin Feng said, "I hope I haven't made a wrong friend." Wang Dong said, "Of course, you won't make a wrong friend. You have a good eye." Lin Feng smiled. "You're very confident." Capable people are always confident. "Right, there's something I need to tell you." Wang Dong said. "What is it?" Lin Feng asked. Wang Dong said, "I heard that the undying Realm Lord has come to minor Western Paradise. I don't know why he's here. The Undying Realm Lord was the Heavenly Emperor's third brother. He was the current world lord of the Undying Realm and the second strongest person in the Heavenly Court. Lin Feng had seen the battle between the Undying Realm Lord and the Devil World sinners. What was the Undying Realm Lord doing in Minor Western Paradise? Lin Feng was extremely puzzled. Lin Feng had killed Di Wuxuan, who was the Undying Realm Lord's son. Was he here to deal with him? However, the Undying Realm Lord probably did not know that he had come to Minor Western Paradise. Chapter 4961. Lin Feng naturally didn't want anything to happen to Yun Tianyu. However, Yun Tianyu had already left. It seemed like it wouldn't be easy for the Undying Realm Lord and the others to stop Yun Tianyu. Moreover, Yun Tianyu had displayed such a powerful battle prowess. Even if he was stopped, it shouldn't be too difficult for him to escape. Thank you for bringing me this information, Brother Wang. It's very useful to me. Lin Feng said. Wang Dong smiled and said, You're welcome, Brother Ji. I won't disturb Brother Ji and Fairy Lu any longer. Let's meet again in the future. Take care, Brother Wang, Lin Feng said. Wang Dong nodded and left. Lin Feng, the Sinner's Blood Emperor. I didn't expect to meet you here. This is going to be fun. A smile appeared on Wang Dong's face. He had met Lin Feng before. However, Wang Dong kept a low profile, so Lin Feng didn't know him. Wang Dong also didn't expose Lin Feng's true identity. Wang Dong's schemes were indeed many times deeper than Sidu Tianye's. After Wang Dong left, Lu Shaoqing said, Wang Dong seems to be Sidu Tianye's friend. Does young master really want to be friends with Wang Dong? Lin Feng smiled. Of course. He's a very interesting person. Lu Shaoqing didn't know what Lin Feng meant by that. She said, I heard that he's very good at scheming. It's best not to have too much contact with him. Lin Feng said, This Wang Dong is definitely not a simple person. I estimate that he's much stronger than Sidu Ti and I. He's just hiding his strength a little deeper. Lu Shaoqing was shocked. She said with some disbelief, Is Wang Dong really that powerful? I've heard some rumors about him before, but most people only commented on his personality and not his strength. Lin Feng said, This is the most terrifying opponent. No one knows how strong he is, so he can hide his strength without any qualms. You also said that he's very good at scheming. This kind of scheming cultivator knows what kind of friend is worth making and what kind isn't. Lu Shaoqing said, Shouldn't we stay away from a vile character? No matter how strong Wang Dong is, he's a vile character. Lin Feng smiled and said, How can there be so many gentlemen in this world? Perhaps it's ideal to make friends with a gentleman. Wang Dong's a vile character, and it seems like he is indeed a vile character. However, a vile character is better than a hypocrite. In life, we have to make friends with all kinds of people. People like Wang Dong can't be avoided. Lu Shaoqing thought about it and felt that Lin Feng's words were very reasonable. She couldn't help but nod. Lin Feng's hands once again wrapped around Lu Shaoqing's soft waist. Happy face, happy face, happy face, happy face, happy face. After Yun Tianyu left the Sacred Treasure Pavilion, he quickly flew towards the northwest. That area was a vast, ancient forest. The three ancestors of the Ba Ji Palace followed closely behind Yun Tianyu. Have you contacted the Undying Realm Lord? Asked the first ancestor of the 8 Extreme Palace. His name was Sun Yuanqing, and he was the strongest of the 3 ancestors. I've already contacted him. He's rushing over here, said the third ancestor of the 8 Extreme Palace. He was the one who lost an arm to Lin Feng. Previously, the third ancestor of the 8 Extreme Palace was more active. The first and second ancestor kept a low profile and didn't move much. He was called Zhou Zihan, and it was said that he was most proficient in soul attacks. Therefore, he was weaker in terms of magic power and other abilities. As for the second ancestor of the Eight Extreme Palace, his name was Dongfang Cheng. He said, Yun Tianyu hasn't discovered us yet. However, as time passes, I'm afraid he'll discover us. If he discovers us, we'll be in trouble. At that time, he'll definitely find a way to shake us off. If he escapes, it'll be very difficult to hunt him down again. Said the third ancestor, Zhou Zihan. Don't worry. The Undying Realm Lord is definitely aware of this. That's why he'll definitely rush over as fast as he can. 3 days later, they met up with the Undying Realm Lord. The Undying Realm Lord was floating in a ball of divine light. He was very powerful, and his combat strength was heaven-defying. In the Undying Realm, there weren't many existences that could contend against him. Under normal circumstances, the Undying Realm Lord wouldn't personally take action. However, this time, the Undying Realm Lord was more concerned about this matter. This was because the Undying Realm Lord seemed to possess something that he was very interested in. Previously, when he slaughtered his way into the ancestral land of the Undying Realm Lord, the Undying Realm Lord had participated in the battle on behalf of the Heavenly Emperor. After that, he searched for the unknown item in the ancestral land of the Undying Realm Lord. However, he couldn't find it. After so many years, the Heavenly Emperor still hadn't given up. However, even the 3 ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace didn't know what the Heavenly Emperor and the Undying Realm Lord were looking for. However, it must be something extremely important. Lord, after seeing the Undying Realm Lord, the 3 ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace quickly bowed. The Undying Realm Lord nodded. The number 1 ancestor of the Eight Extreme Palace, Sun Yuanqing, said, Originally, we shouldn't trouble you to deal with Yun Tianyu. After all, you're currently dealing with the sinner's blood from the devil world who invaded the Undying Realm. However, Yun Tianyu is too powerful. That's why we asked the Heavenly Emperor for help. You don't have to blame yourselves. Yun Tianyu is also a great threat to me. He's a Confucian cultivator, but he cultivates both Confucianism and Buddhism. He's very strong. Moreover, he's too close to the Undying Realm Lord. It's really not a good thing. If it wasn't for that bitch from the Undying Realm Lord blocking my attack for him, he would have died long ago. All these years I've been trying to find him, but he's too good at hiding. That's why I haven't found a chance to kill him. Since he dares to appear so brazenly, I'll personally deal with him. The Undying Realm Lord sneered. When he thought of the battle back then, a sneer appeared on his face. These people didn't stop. They quickly chased after Yun Tianyu. An hour later, they saw Yun Tianyu. These people didn't hide their tracks. Therefore, they were discovered by Yun Tianyu. It's you. Yun Tianyu glared hatefully at the Undying World Overlord. He had a blood feud with the Undying World Overlord. That's right, it's me. Yun Tianyu, your death has arrived. The Undying Sector Lord sneered. Go. Yun Tianyu's expression changed drastically, and he quickly fled into the depths of the forest. Chapter 4962. Lin Feng was very comfortable in the Western Paradise City. However, Lin Feng also noticed that some people had been watching him recently. These people were none other than the cultivators of the Eight Extreme Palace. Lin Feng punished Situ Tianai by making him kneel on the ground. Situ Tianai couldn't endure such humiliation and ended up suffering from qi deviation, completely crippling him. This matter caused a huge uproar. Originally, many people thought that the Eight Extreme Palace wouldn't let this matter go. However, the strange thing was that the Eight Extreme Palace didn't deal with Lin Feng for some unknown reason. When Lin Feng found out about Situ Tianya's qi deviation, he was very surprised. He only wanted to punish Situ Tianai. Who would have thought that Situ Tianai would suffer from qi deviation? Wasn't this guy's mental fortitude too weak? No wonder he was trampled by young Master Mingyue despite being so powerful compared to young Master Mingyue. Apart from having a slight advantage in terms of age, young Master Mingyue was a far cry from young Master Mingyue. Of course, the advantage in terms of age referred to the fact that this fellow was much older than young Master Mingyue, not much younger. Lin Feng naturally didn't worry about Situ Tianya's matter. He was bold and didn't fear the people of the Eight Extreme Palace. However, the cultivators of the Western Paradise City were in an uproar. The news of Situ Tianya's qi deviation spread like wildfire. Many people had a gloating expression on their faces. Then they talked about how Situ Tianai didn't destroy the ancient gathering place. Even now, many people still wanted to curse Situ Tianai. This was because the ancient people still had some contact with the outside world. Although there weren't many of them, the ancient people still had some special heavenly treasures that were very beneficial to cultivators. Occasionally, they would trade these things with cultivators in the outside world in exchange for things they needed. However, after the ancient survivors were besieged several times, especially after the gathering place where most of the ancient survivors lived in seclusion was breached by the Ba-Ji Palace and other forces, the special treasures of heaven and earth that the ancient survivors possessed were basically not circulated anymore. This made many people extremely angry. However, no matter how angry they were, they didn't dare to provoke the Eight Extreme Palace. Therefore, many people took joy in Situ Tianya's misfortune. There was a saying that a person's lowly self would be punished by the heavens. This saying was indeed true. Lin Feng had been very comfortable these past few days. With Lu Xiaoqing's service, he naturally lived like an immortal. Of course, Lin Feng didn't forget about cultivation. Lin Feng Lung Zishi was still in seclusion. It seemed that her opportunity this time was not small. Otherwise, she would have already broken through. The source energy of the Tao, immortal realm, should still be quite useful to Lin Feng. As Lin Feng refined it, the source energy was also gradually refined by Lin Feng. And Lin Feng made another breakthrough from the third layer of the human immortal realm to the fourth layer of the human immortal realm. However, there was still a large amount of source energy in his body that had not been refined. Lin Feng continued to refine the source energy in his body. When all the source energy was refined by him, Lin Feng broke through to the fifth layer of the human immortal realm. After completing the breakthrough, a look of ecstasy appeared on Lin Feng's face. After refining the 9 heavens cloud immortal spring and the Tao immortal essence, he had broken through 4 realms in succession. The harvest this time was simply too great. The increase of 4 realms caused Lin Feng's combat power to soar. After completing the breakthrough, Lin Feng began to slowly familiarize himself with his new power. At this time, Shui Yuexin and Lu Xiaoqing actually came together. To be precise, it was Shui Yuexin who came to look for Lu Xiaoqing for some business matters. After all, the business relationship between St. Treasure Pavilion and Bai Shao Pavilion was very close. Therefore, Shui Yuexin and Lu Xiaoqing often met each other. In the past, when they met, they were quite amiable. Although their relationship was not particularly good, there was no smell of gunpowder. But now, when they met, there was a smell of gunpowder between them. And this smell of gunpowder was naturally caused by Lin Feng. Moreover, Shui Yuexin came from Bai Shao Pavilion. She knew all kinds of information about the outside world, like the back of her hand. Naturally, she knew that Lin Feng and Lu Shaoqing had been together for a few days. When she found out about this, Shui Yuexin's mood was very bad. Now that she saw Lu Shaoqing, she naturally lost the calmness she had when facing Lu Shaoqing. As for Lu Shaoqing, she was somewhat displeased with Shui Yuexin. She felt that Shui Yuexin was taking herself too seriously. Did she really think that all the men in the world revolved around her? After the two finished discussing business matters, Lu Shaoqing said with a smile, "Sister, you don't look too good. Did you not rest well these few days?" Shui Yuexin said faintly, "I have rested well. Sister Lu, you don't have to worry about me." Lu Shaoqing smiled and said, "That's good. Sister, you must take good care of yourself. After all, it's not easy to work alone outside. But sister and I are different. I have young master to take care of me. No matter what happens, young master will help me solve it. Perhaps when young master leaves Little Westfield City, I will also have to leave. At that time, we might not have the chance to meet." Shui Yuexin's fists that were hidden in her sleeves could not help but clench slightly. Her face could not help but turn ugly. Shui Yuexin naturally knew that Lu Shaoqing was showing off to her. Shui Yuexin originally wanted to say a few words of ridicule to Lu Shaoqing, but she really did not know what to say. Shui Yuexin even realized that she was actually very jealous of Lu Shaoqing. "I still have some matters to attend to. I will take my leave first," Shui Yuexin said, and then got up to leave. Chapter 4963. After cursing for a while, Lu Shaoqing muttered, "Actually, I should thank her. If she had really gotten together with the young master back then, with her sticking to the young master's side all day, perhaps I wouldn't have had a chance." After thinking about this, Lu Shaoqing's resentment towards Shui Yuexin lessened a lot. In fact, her resentment was because Shui Yuexin rejected Lin Feng back then. She felt that Shui Yuexin really didn't know how to appreciate kindness. She only had herself to blame now. It was easy for women to scheme against each other. Otherwise, the concubines in the harem of the various dynasties wouldn't fight to the death. Lin Feng naturally didn't know what Lu Shaoqing and Shui Yuexin were thinking. He was actually very open-minded about the matter between him and Shui Yuexin. Lin Feng wasn't a novice when it came to relationships. After being hurt by Su Yuexi when he was young, Lin Feng told himself that he wanted to be a prodigal son. He wanted to pluck as many flowers as he could. There were so many beautiful women in the world, so there was no need to hang himself on a big tree. It wasn't Lin Feng's style to blame a flower garden for a flower. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that the matter of him gradually distancing himself from Shui Yuexin was a normal matter. Men were more open-minded about this kind of thing. While Lin Feng was in seclusion to stabilize his cultivation, a shocking news gradually spread. This news was about Yun Tianyu, the undying sector lord, and the three ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace. It was said that after the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace failed to besiege Yun Tianyu, they used a secret technique to quickly report the news to the Heavenly Emperor. As a result, the Heavenly Emperor sent his third brother, the undying sector lord, to deal with Yun Tianyu. There was a reason why the undying sector lord was sent. First, the undying sector lord was very powerful. The success rate of dealing with Yun Tianyu was naturally higher. Second, the Heavenly Emperor wanted to obtain something special from the ancient survivors. No one knew what those things were. The person the Heavenly Emperor trusted the most was his third brother, the undying sector lord. Therefore, he sent his third brother, the undying sector lord, to search for those things. Back then, when the undying sector lord destroyed the gathering area of the ancient remnant, he wasn't able to find what the Heavenly Emperor needed. This time, the Undying Sector Lord took action again. He wanted to capture Yun Tianyu and interrogate him about the whereabouts of the Ancient Remnant. They planned to attack the Ancient Remnant again and obtain what the Heavenly Emperor needed from them. Combining these 2 points, the Undying Sector Lord was the best candidate. The combination of the Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace was too terrifying. Anyone who was targeted by such a combination would probably feel despair. The Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace naturally felt that Yun Tianyu was dead for sure. They had chased after Yun Tianyu, but were discovered by him. Thus, Yun Tianyu quickly fled. However, everything that had happened was within Yun Tianyu's control. This was a trap set up by Yun Tianyu. Yun Tianyu appeared in a high-profile manner. After defeating the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace, he didn't chase after them. Later on, the Heavenly Emperor sent the Undying Sector Lord to assist the 3 ancestors in dealing with Yun Tianyu. All these things were calculated by Yun Tianyu. Yun Tianyu had already joined forces with some experts of the ancient survivors and arranged a dangerous zone in a mountain forest in the northwest of the Western Paradise City. That place was said to be a burial ground for gods. In the past, an extremely terrifying titled god was buried there. Originally, that place was densely covered with seals. However, for some unknown reason, all the seals disappeared. In fact, the seals in that place didn't disappear, but sunk into the ground. Yun Tianyu and the experts of the ancient survivors took the risk to explore that place and spent 3 years to successfully arrange a grand formation. Once their grand formation was activated, all the seals that had sunk into the ground would be shifted to the surface. Then, the grand formation they arranged would fuse with the grand formation that was shifted to the surface, turning into an even more powerful and terrifying formation. Yun Tianyu lured the Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace to that place, then activated the grand formation. After the grand formation was activated, an astonishing thing happened. The Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace were immediately trapped in that place. Previously, the experts of the ancient survivors who were lying in ambush rushed out and activated the grand formation together with Yun Tianyu, besieging the Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace. The Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace were extremely powerful figures. The Undying Sector Lord's battle prowess was incomparably heaven-defying. However, no matter how powerful the Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace were, they were somewhat powerless in the face of the meticulously designed trap of the enemy. Therefore, the Undying Sector Lord and the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace were all injured in this battle. The enemy's main target was the Undying Sector Lord. Compared to the Undying Sector Lord, the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace were truly insignificant characters. However, even the Undying Sector Lord was somewhat powerless in the face of this crisis. 80% of the enemy's attack was focused on the Undying Sector Lord, while the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace only suffered 20% of the enemy's strength. Even so, the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace almost died in this battle. However, the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace weren't ordinary characters. They all carried some forbidden artifacts that they would only use in desperate situations. Therefore, they relied on these forbidden artifacts to bitterly hold on. The situation of the Undying Sector Lord was even worse. It was said that one of his eyes was pierced blind. This attack should have instantly destroyed the Undying Sector Lord's soul. But who would have thought that the Undying Sector Lord had actually cultivated a soul transfer technique? Before his soul was destroyed, his soul had actually been transferred from his mind to his dantian. This was an extremely difficult divine ability to cultivate. However, the Undying Sector Lord had successfully cultivated it. Relying on this powerful divine ability, the Undying Sector Lord successfully avoided certain death. In the end, the Undying Sector Lord escaped with serious injuries. Yun Tianyu and the rest went to pursue the Undying Sector Lord, while the rest stayed behind to deal with the three ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace. The three ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace naturally knew that this was their only chance to escape. If they couldn't escape before Yun Tianyu and the rest returned, the three of them would undoubtedly die. Therefore, the three ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace no longer held back. Chapter 4964. These rumors caused a huge uproar in the outside world. However, the authenticity of these rumors had yet to be verified. Now, many forces were heading towards the place where the battle took place to investigate this matter. Some forces were looking for witnesses. Not long after, a crystal ball of light was circulated. The crystal ball that was sent out showed some blurry images. In the forest, the Undying Sector Lord, who was blind in one eye, was covered in blood. There were many wounds on his body that were so deep that his bones could be seen. He escaped from the forest shrouded in darkness. Then, three cultivators chased after him. One of them was Yun Tianyu. The other two were unfamiliar to everyone. Many people felt that they might be Yun Tianyu's friends or members of the Eternal Remnant. But no matter who they were, they had participated in the encirclement of the Undying Sector Lord. After the Undying Sector Lord escaped, another image appeared in the crystal ball. A stone golem escaped with the three ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace. That stone golem was naturally not a real stone golem. It was only transformed from a special magic treasure. If it wasn't for Yun Tianyu and the other two experts chasing after the Undying Sector Lord, the three ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace wouldn't have been able to escape. Of course, the main target of Yun Tianyu and the others was the Undying Sector Lord. The importance of the three ancestors of the Eight Extreme Palace couldn't be compared to the Undying Sector Lord. The crystal ball was branded by someone. First, it was sold in the Little Western Paradise City. Then, it began to spread to some ancient cities outside. Moreover, it spread to other domains at lightning speed. If it was just some news, no one would believe it. After all, there were too many rumors in this world. Most of the news could be false. However, the images imprinted in the crystal ball couldn't be faked. Now, countless people were discussing this matter. They wondered how the Undying Sector Lord was doing. Many people rejoiced in the misfortune of the Undying Sector Lord, hoping that the Undying Sector Lord would be killed. This was especially true for the cultivators of the top forces. This was because many of the top forces had long been estranged from the Heavenly Court. Moreover, they disobeyed the orders of the Heavenly Emperor. However, because the Heavenly Court was too powerful, they had no choice but to obey the orders of the Heavenly Court. The most capable helper of the Heavenly Emperor was naturally the Undying Sector Lord. He was an almost invincible existence. If the Undying Sector Lord fell, the pressure on the other major forces would be greatly reduced. Lin Feng was also paying attention to this matter. He also saw the images imprinted in the crystal ball. When Lin Feng saw the images, he was extremely shocked. Lin Feng didn't expect such a thing to happen. It was really inconceivable. When he talked with Yun Tianyu before, he didn't see any flaws. Perhaps Yun Tianyu didn't bring him to the gathering place of the eternal survivors because of the eternal survivors. However, the bigger reason was probably because Yun Tianyu and the others wanted to deal with the Undying Sector Lord. Yun Tianyu and the others weren't familiar with him. They had only heard some rumors about him before. Therefore, it was naturally extremely unrealistic for them to trust him quickly. It was absolutely impossible for such an important battle to be leaked to him. However, even if he didn't participate in the siege of the Undying Sector Lord, Lin Feng was still extremely happy to see that the Undying Sector Lord had suffered such a serious injury. The situation of the Undying Sector Lord was very bad. He hoped that Yun Tianyu and the others could successfully kill this great threat. Of course, Lin Feng also knew that it wasn't an easy task to kill an expert like the Undying Sector Lord. However, maybe Yun Tianyu and the others could really do it? In the next few days, many people were waiting for news. Lin Feng was also waiting for news. He urgently wanted to know if the Undying Sector Lord had been killed. Lin Feng hoped that the Undying Sector Lord would be killed even in his dreams. However, he could only let nature take its course because he really couldn't help in this matter. He could only watch the show from the side. On the 5th day, news spread that the Undying Sector Lord had escaped through some special means. Yun Tianyu and the others weren't able to kill the Undying Sector Lord. However, even though they weren't able to kill the Undying Sector Lord, they still made him suffer a great loss. This was because the Undying Sector Lord had lost an eye. Moreover, his sea of consciousness had suffered great damage. This kind of injury was extremely serious for a cultivator. Moreover, it was an injury that couldn't be healed. Originally, the Undying Sector Lord might be able to break through to the Sage Realm in the future. However, it was somewhat difficult now. This path was basically cut off. Many people were discussing this matter passionately. Lin Feng also felt that it was a pity. Of course, even though it was a pity, it wasn't unacceptable. Lin Feng had long expected that it wouldn't be easy to kill the Undying Sector Lord. Perhaps we will receive news about Yun Tianyu soon. Lin Feng couldn't help but murmur to himself. After all, after Yun Tianyu was done with his business, he would probably ask the ancient survivors around him about Feng Yaoguang. Now that Yun Tianyu and the others weren't particularly far from the little western paradise city, it wouldn't be too difficult for them to pass the news back. Lin Feng went to look for Lu Shaoqing. Lu Shaoqing, who had become a married woman, seemed to be even more charming. With such a woman by his side, even a monarch wouldn't want to attend the morning assembly. Lin Feng looked at Lu Shaoqing and said, "I estimate that it won't be long before I leave the little western paradise city. Many people already know about our relationship, so you shouldn't continue to stay here. After I leave, the people of the Baji Palace will definitely target you." Lu Shaoqing said, "Young master, I have been doing the handover work these days. My handover work is almost done." Hearing this, Lin Feng felt somewhat emotional. Lu Shaoqing was truly a woman with a pure heart. She had prepared everything in advance. Lin Feng said, "That's good. Let's set off tomorrow to the Sin Domain. Now that the Sin Domain is strong, it's very safe. Once you reach the Sin Domain, you can wholeheartedly cultivate there. If you feel bored and want to do something, you can also find my ancestor to arrange something for you to do." Then Lin Feng told Lu Shaoqing about the situation in the Sin Domain, as well as the various interpersonal relationships. Since they were about to leave, they naturally couldn't bear to part. Thus, it was a sleepless night. Chapter 4965. Isn't this young Master Ji's residence? Previously, young Master Ji punished Situ Tianai by making him kneel on the ground for a day and a night. Situ Tianya's mental fortitude is very poor, so he suffered from qi deviation. Now, he's basically a cripple. Situ Tianai is a heaven's pride second only to young Master Minghua. He's an elite that the 8-level palace nurtured. Now that he's a cripple, the 8-level palace naturally won't let this go. Previously, the 3 ancestors were busy dealing with Yun Tianyu, so they couldn't spare time to deal with young Master G. Now that they're free, they naturally want to eliminate young Master G. The three ancestors of the 8-level palace have just suffered a great loss. Instead of quickly returning to their ancestral land to heal their injuries, they actually came out to wander around. This really makes one speechless. Moreover, as ancestor-level experts, they actually attacked young cultivators. Isn't this too degrading? The three ancestors suffered a great loss at the hands of Yun Tianyu and almost died. Now, they're suppressing a bellyful of anger. Naturally, they have to find a way to quell the anger in their hearts. That's why the three ancestors took action. A large number of cultivators gathered around to watch the show. They were all discussing this matter. Many people were quite disdainful of the three ancestors' actions. However, they only dared to talk about it in private. They didn't dare to offend the three ancestors unless they had a death wish. Although the three ancestors suffered a great loss at the hands of Yun Tianyu, they weren't people that people like them could afford to offend. Offending the three ancestors was simply courting death. Now that the three ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace had come together, many people believed that young Master G was in danger. After all, no matter how powerful young Master G was, he was only one person. The three ancestors of the 8-level palace were 3 true immortal experts. Moreover, the first ancestor of the 3 ancestors was a Tao immortal expert. This was the second layer of the true immortal realm. His cultivation was unfathomable. Although the first ancestor was injured, an injured Tao immortal expert was still unimaginably powerful. The battle hadn't started yet, but in many people's eyes, the result was already very obvious. "Brat, get out here." Zhou Zihen, the third ancestor of the Ba Ji Palace and an old acquaintance of Lin Feng, coldly shouted. In fact, he didn't know that the young Master Ji was actually Lin Feng. If he had known, he would have already dealt with Lin Feng. Crown Prince Di Wudao had already given the order to deal with Lin Feng, and the Ba Ji Palace was a loyal supporter of Crown Prince Di Wudao. I was wondering why it was so noisy outside. Turns out it was you, the old dog, barking outside. Lin Feng walked out of the courtyard, looked at Zhou Zihen, and said sarcastically, "It's you." When Zhou Zihen saw Lin Feng, his eyes suddenly flashed with killing intent and monstrous hatred. One of his arms was chopped off by Lin Feng. He dreamed of killing Lin Feng, but he never had the chance. Now, after a short moment of shock, Zhou Zihen's heart was filled with excitement. He finally saw Lin Feng again. Moreover, the other 2 ancestors of the Ba Ji Palace were also here. This time, Lin Feng wouldn't be able to escape. Zhou Zihen was already thinking about how to kill Lin Feng. He couldn't let Lin Feng die a quick death. If he did, it would be too easy for Lin Feng. Who is he? The second ancestor of the Ba Ji Palace, Dongfang Cheng, looked at Zhou Zihen in surprise. This was because Zhou Zihen obviously knew Lin Feng. Moreover, Zhou Zihen was gnashing his teeth, which aroused Dongfang Cheng's interest. Zhou Zihen said, "This brat is the Sinner's Blood Emperor, the son of Lin Beitian, Lin Feng." "What? He's the Sinner's Blood Emperor, the son of Lin Beitian. Lin Feng, the number 1 wanted by the Heavenly Court." The first ancestor, Sun Yuanqing, couldn't help but exclaim. Zhou Zihen nodded and confirmed, "Yes, this is the brat." After receiving this confirmation, Sun Yuanqing and Dongfang Cheng became excited. If they could kill Lin Feng, Lin Feng's powerful lineages, endless wealth, and powerful treasures would all belong to them. They could even plunder Lin Feng's monstrous providence for their own use. Thus, killing Lin Feng was no less than obtaining 4 or 5 heaven-defying fortunes. Secondly, both Crown Prince Di Wudao and the Heavenly Court had issued bounties for Lin Feng. so the rewards were quite generous. Killing Lin Feng would be a great contribution with boundless rewards. Thus, killing Lin Feng was akin to killing two birds with one stone. With this thought in mind, the three ancestors couldn't help but become excited. Oh heavens! That person is the legendary sinner's blood emperor, Lin Feng. No wonder why he is so powerful at such a young age. I finally know why. The relationship between Lin Feng and the Ba-Ji Palace has always been very bad. It can even be described as an irreconcilable feud. The Ba-Ji Palace is one of the top powers in the Minor Western Heaven territory, so it's too late to hide from them. Lin Feng actually came to the Minor Western Heaven territory. How audacious! I actually think that this person is bold because of his skill. So what if he is bold because of his skill? Right now, he is surrounded by the three ancestors of the Ba-Ji Palace. They are too strong, and Sun Yuanqing is a Tao immortal. What can Lin Feng use to fight against them? Thus, there is no doubt that he will lose this battle and die for sure. The surrounding cultivators were extremely shocked after knowing Lin Feng's true identity. Monstrous waves were set off in their hearts. One could imagine that if Lin Feng were to fall here, then the Sin realm, which had been united with great difficulty, would fall apart. At that time, the Sin realm would be quickly breached by the Heavenly Court's army. Ha ha ha, this is truly a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it without any effort. Sun Yuanqing couldn't help but laugh while looking at Lin Feng. He had cultivated for 30 million years, so what kind of storms had he not seen? Very few things could excite him like this. However, today he had besieged the sinner's blood emperor, Lin Feng, and this was something to be excited about. Because Sun Yuanqing had sealed himself in the divine stone before, after breaking the divine stone, his body weakened very quickly. This made Sun Yuanqing extremely panicked. If this continued, the damage to his body would be too great, and he would very likely die of old age quickly. Chapter 4966. The hope he saw was to obtain enough benefits from Lin Feng. He could even devour Lin Feng's powerful bloodline to improve his own. Of course, Sun Yuanqing didn't dare to say whether he could achieve a breakthrough, but this was indeed an opportunity. However, the premise of trying these things was to first kill Lin Feng. If he couldn't kill Lin Feng, then everything was just empty talk. Lin Feng sneered as he looked at these guys. The three of them seemed to think that they could defeat him. How ridiculous! If they weren't in their peak condition, Lin Feng would be extremely afraid of them. But now, these three guys had just narrowly escaped death, and their injuries hadn't even healed yet. Yet, they wanted to kill him? How whimsical. Three old things. Are you in such a hurry to die? In that case, this young master can send you on your way. Lin Feng sneered. After hearing Lin Feng's ridicule, the faces of the three ancestors of the Ba-Ji Palace suddenly became extremely gloomy. Lin Feng actually dared to look down on them, which made them quite angry. The cultivators who were watching the show were even more surprised. They couldn't believe their ears. Lin Feng was now surrounded by the three ancestors of the Ba-Ji Palace, yet he was still so arrogant. The word audacious was no longer enough to describe him. Many people thought that Lin Feng was scared silly, so he spoke incoherently. Everyone felt that this was really possible. Otherwise, Lin Feng wouldn't have said such arrogant words just now. Lin Feng, you think too highly of yourself. Death is at hand, yet you are still so arrogant. I'll see how you die later. Zhou Zihen glared fiercely at Lin Feng, his eyes flashing with killing intent. After Zhou Zihen's voice faded, the three ancestors of the Ba-Ji Palace quickly separated. They divided into three directions and surrounded Lin Feng. This way, they could prevent Lin Feng from escaping. Lin Feng looked at Zhou Zihen, sarcastically and said, "When I chopped off your arm, I thought you had learned some lessons. It seems that you still haven't learned much. In that case, I will cut off your head later. If you reincarnate as a human, don't ever offend me again. Otherwise, you will still die without a burial place." Many people were shocked. They didn't know who cut off Zhou Zihin's arm. It turned out that it was done by Lin Feng. Now, they finally knew the truth of the matter. Therefore, they were very shocked. However, Lin Feng was still incomparably arrogant. "Let's do it," Sun Yuanqing said. He didn't want to continue bickering with Lin Feng because he was worried that the situation would change if he delayed any longer. Moreover, they were at a disadvantage when bickering with Lin Feng. Being ridiculed by Lin Feng made them tremble with anger. However, when it came to bickering, they really couldn't compete with Lin Feng. In that case, they might as well get rid of Lin Feng quickly. The three ancestors of the Ba Ji Palace quickly reached an agreement and decided to besiege Lin Feng. "Let's use the joint attack technique," Zhou Zihin said. Sun Yuanqing and Dongfang Sheng nodded. They didn't have any objections. The joint attack technique could maximize their combat strength to the maximum. They were naturally happy to do so. The three ancestors of the Ba Ji Palace made a series of hand seals. When the hand seals were completed, dense threads appeared in each of their hands. These threads contained a powerful destructive force. Everyone saw that these threads easily tore the void apart. After seeing this scene, many people were shocked. What a terrifying attack! However, the attack of the three ancestors of the Ba Ji Palace was obviously just the beginning. When the threads were condensed, they intertwined into a large net in the air. It was like an inescapable net. The dense threads intertwined together and shrouded Lin Feng's body. What kind of attack is this? What a terrifying attack! One after another, the cultivators exclaimed, their faces filled with shock. The attacks from the three ancestors of the 8-level palace were simply too powerful. It was simply unheard of. Anyone who faced such a powerful attack would feel their hair stand on end. Heavenly Buddhas, deliver all living beings. Lin Feng put his palms together. Suddenly, hundreds of millions of ancient Buddhas appeared behind him. These ancient Buddhas fused together and turned into a huge Buddha. The Buddha sat cross-legged in the void. When the inescapable net shrouded the sky and the sun, the Buddha's light illuminated the world and formed a huge energy shield. The huge energy shield resisted the attack of the inescapable net. The inescapable net emitted a powerful destructive force. The destructive force seemed to want to destroy the huge energy shield condensed by the Buddha, but in the end, it failed. That Lin Feng is so powerful. He actually resisted the joint attack of 3 true immortals. Some cultivators exclaimed. They couldn't believe their eyes. However, all of this was real. In the face of the joint attack of 3 great experts, Lin Feng seemed to be able to handle it with ease. It was really incredible. The main reason was that Lin Feng was too young. If he was already so heaven-defying at such a young age, what would happen in the future? As expected of the sinner's blood emperor, he's really too powerful. If he's given time, he'll definitely surpass the heavenly emperor. No wonder Di Wu Dao and the heavenly court want to get rid of him. It's because he's too heaven-defying. That's why they want to get rid of Lin Feng before he fully matures. If they wait until Lin Feng fully matures, it won't be easy to get rid of him. Yeah, now is the best time to get rid of Lin Feng before he fully matures. The surrounding cultivators discussed animatedly. The shock caused by Lin Feng's terrifying battle strength was almost indescribable. The 3 ancestors of the Ba Ji Palace couldn't help but become incomparably gloomy. They didn't expect Lin Feng to be so difficult to deal with. Although they could only display a portion of their battle strength due to their injuries, they still used a joint attack. They still couldn't take down Lin Feng. This made them feel a trace of fear. If they couldn't kill Lin Feng, then, in the future, Lin Feng would definitely become a big problem. Summon the magic treasure. Sun Yuanqing shouted in a deep voice. As soon as his voice fell, he summoned a golden mirror-type magic treasure. Dongfang Cheng and Zhou Zihin also summoned their magic treasures. Dongfang Cheng summoned a ghost-faced saber, while Zhou Zihin summoned a heaven-shaking tower. Chapter 49-67. The magic treasures summoned by the three were very powerful, including Sun Yuanqing's mirror-type magic treasure, Dongfang Cheng's ghost-faced blade, and Zhou Zihin's sky-shaking pagoda were both extremely powerful. The three of them activated their magic treasures. Sun Yuanqing held the golden mirror in his hand. Powerful beams of light shot out from the mirror, one after another. Each beam of light contained world-destroying fluctuations. All of the beams of light bombarded the light shield formed by the huge Buddha. Dongfang Cheng held the ghost-faced saber in his hand and slashed out again and again. Each slash was powerful and heavy. Evil spirits flew out from the ghost-faced saber, and then those evil spirits turned into saber light. Clang, clang, clang. Zhou Zihin's sky-shaking pagoda rapidly grew in size. In the blink of an eye, it became as big as a mountain. The sky-shaking pagoda descended from the sky and bombarded the huge light shield. Clang, clang, clang. Attack after attack. They bombarded the huge light shield. The huge light shield shook more and more violently. The three true immortals have summoned their magic treasures. Looks like they don't want to hold back anymore. The three true immortals have summoned their magic treasures to deal with Lin Feng. Their combat power will increase greatly. If that's the case, Lin Feng won't be a match for the three true immortals, right? Lin Feng is not a simple person. Let's just wait and see. Who knows what will happen next? The surrounding cultivators discussed animatedly. Some believed that the three ancestors of the 8-level palace could win after summoning their magic treasures. Some believed that it would not be easy for them to win. Lin Feng's methods were extremely powerful. How could it be easy for the three ancestors of the 8-level palace to deal with Lin Feng? However, at this moment, the huge light shield formed by the Buddha was indeed shaking violently after receiving the attacks of the three powerful magic treasures. The situation did not look good. Perhaps it would not take long for the huge light shield to be destroyed. Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. Although Lin Feng's words were full of contempt and sarcasm for the three ancestors of the 8-level palace. In fact, Lin Feng attached great importance to them. Lin Feng's verbal attack was actually to disturb their emotions. Once a person was in a state of anger, it was often easy for them to lose their cool. Once they lost their cool, they might not be able to fully display their cultivation. In fact, Lin Feng attached great importance to the three ancestors of the 8-level palace. After all, they had a Tao immortal expert as their leader. If not, Lin Feng believed that he could kill the other two. However, since they had a Tao immortal expert, killing them would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Seeing that the light shield was about to be destroyed, Lin Feng planned to enter the room and send Lung Zishi, who was in seclusion, into the space-time continuum. Under normal circumstances, Lin Feng was unwilling to expose the secret of the space-time continuum, but now it seemed that he had no other choice. He could not just watch a beautiful girl like Lung Zishi die here, right? That was naturally not Lin Feng's style. Is this a fight? It looks so exciting. I also want to participate in it. Just when Lin Feng was about to return to the room and send Lung Zishi into the space-time continuum, a voice was heard and Lung Zishi ran out. Lung Zishi came out of seclusion at this critical moment, looking at her happy face. One could tell that this two-faced girl had obtained a lot of benefits. It is indeed a fight, but these guys are not easy to deal with. Let's leave this place first. Lin Feng said. Although Lung Zishi was a warmonger, she also knew that the three ancestors of the 8-level palace were not to be trifled with. Therefore, after hearing Lin Feng's words, the three ancestors could not help but nod. Asterisk bang. Asterisk suddenly, a loud sound was heard. The three ancestors of the 8-level palace manipulated their powerful magical weapons and directly destroyed the huge energy barrier. Then, the three ancestors manipulated their magical weapons to attack Lin Feng and Lung Zishi. Lin Feng began to operate the weapon mantra. The three powerful magical weapons actually changed their direction and quickly bombarded the three ancestors of the 8-level palace. After seeing this scene, everyone showed an astonished expression. What was going on? Why did the magical weapons of the three ancestors of the 8-level palace turn around and attack the three ancestors of the 8-level palace? Wasn't this too inconceivable? Everyone's mind was somewhat confused, but someone who was experienced and knowledgeable knew what was going on. So he said, that Lin Feng knows the rumored weapon mantra, so he can control other people's magical weapons. After hearing this, many people were shocked. The weapon mantra was a rumored method. Mastering such a powerful method was absolutely tempting. Everyone also knew more about Lin Feng. It made sense that Lin Feng could have such a terrifying combat strength at such a young age. The three ancestors were alarmed to see their treasures flying towards them. They quickly retreated in order to increase the distance between them and their treasures. Of course, this wasn't the end of it. While retreating, they also attempted to regain control of their treasures. Once they regained control of their treasures, they were able to do so as well. Lin Feng and Lung Zishi rushed out of the encirclement of the three ancestors. Ha ha ha! 3 old farts. This young master still has some matters to take care of, so I'll let you live for now. However, this young master will soon send you to your deaths. Lin Feng's laughter came from the distance. Many people couldn't help but wryly smile. Before leaving, Lin Feng had to say some infuriating words to annoy the three ancestors. The three ancestors' expressions were extremely gloomy. They put away their magical weapons and quickly chased after Lin Feng and Lung Zishi. However, Lin Feng and Lung Zishi's speed was too fast and soon disappeared without a trace. In the forest, Lin Feng leaned against a tree to rest. Lung Zishi said with some dissatisfaction, "Why are you running? Why don't you fight those 3 shameless old farts? We can definitely beat them." Chapter 4968. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, "I think you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They aren't 3 virtual immortals. If they were 3 virtual immortals, would I have chosen to leave? I would have killed them long ago. One of them is a Tao immortal. An expert of this level is still a great threat to us. In other words, even if we can kill this Tao immortal expert, we will have to pay a heavy price. This is not something I want to see." Lung Zishi wanted to refute Lin Feng's words, but Lin Feng's words were very reasonable. Lung Zishi also knew that Lin Feng's words were very reasonable. Therefore, she didn't know how to refute Lin Feng. Perhaps she didn't even have a way to refute Lin Feng. She sat down beside Lin Feng and asked, "What do you plan to do next?" "I'm so tired. I want to rest for a while," Lin Feng said as he lay down on Lung Zishi's thighs. Lung Zishi's face turned slightly red. Then she said angrily, "Bastard, you're taking advantage of me. Get off me." Lin Feng said, "If you keep shouting, do you believe that I won't drag you into the forest right now?" Lung Zishi clenched her teeth when she heard Lin Feng's threat. However, she didn't dare to say anything in the end. Lin Feng lay on Lung Zishi's thighs and smelled the pleasant fragrance coming from her body. Although this girl was very black-bellied and was usually carefree, she was actually very pure and kind. It didn't take long for Lin Feng to fall asleep. Lung Zishi looked at Lin Feng's handsome face. Sometimes she wanted to scratch Lin Feng a few times. Sometimes she wanted to bite Lin Feng a few times. The way she bared her fangs and brandished her claws was really cute. However, she didn't disturb Lin Feng. Perhaps she felt that Lin Feng would also feel tired sometimes. Lung Zishi suddenly thought of her father. Her father was quite tired sometimes. After all, men and women were different, because men were burdened with a lot of pressure, and that pressure was often enough to crush a person. Lin Feng didn't know how long he slept, but it was really comfortable. Lung Zishi's body was very soft, and he slept very peacefully on her thighs. This might be a good time to pull Lung Zishi over and lie on her thighs like this time. If possible, he could even hug her small waist. Presumably, it would be a very good experience. Bastard, you finally woke up. Do you know that my legs are going numb because of you? Lung Zishi said, unhappily. I'll help you rub it. Lin Feng stood up and said with a smile. Then he stretched out his hand and pretended to help Lung Zishi rub her numb thighs. A woman's thighs were also a sensitive place. Lung Zishi naturally wouldn't let Lin Feng do as he pleased. Moreover, she felt that Lin Feng definitely didn't have any good intentions, so she said, I don't need you to rub it. Just let me punch you. After saying that, Lung Zishi threw a punch at Lin Feng's face. Lin Feng was speechless. This girl was really violent. She really attacked without any hesitation. Lin Feng also looked like he wanted to cry, but had no tears. Lin Feng didn't let Lung Zishi have her way. Before Lung Zishi's fist landed on his handsome face, Lin Feng had already jumped down from the tree. Thus, Lung Zishi's fist lost its target and smashed into the air. Lung Zishi angrily jumped down from the tree. She didn't continue to find trouble with Lin Feng. Instead, she asked, what are we going to do next? Lin Feng said, do you still need to say it? Of course, we'll go straight to the root of the problem and raze the Baji Palace to the ground. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Lung Zishi immediately showed an excited expression. She had the personality of a little witch and only wished for the world to be in chaos. Therefore, Lin Feng's words just now were really to her liking. She almost cried out in joy. You won't lie to me, right? Lung Zishi looked at Lin Feng and asked, Of course not. Lin Feng said, But with just the two of us, we shouldn't be a match for them, right? After the initial excitement, Lung Zishi calmed down and said, A power like the Baji Palace must have some foundation. The Baji Palace's 3 ancestors might only be experts on the surface. Lin Feng began to admire Lung Zishi. She always looked like she didn't care much, but in fact, she was very meticulous. Lin Feng said, With just the two of us, we definitely won't be able to do it. It's too dangerous. However, we can contact Yun Tianyu and the others. Now that the Undying Realm Lord has escaped with serious injuries, he won't have the time to care about the Baji Palace. Although the Baji Palace has a very strong foundation, if we join forces with Yun Tianyu and the others, even if we can't destroy the Baji Palace, we will definitely be able to inflict serious damage to them. Whether we can destroy the Baji Palace or not depends on what kind of foundation they have. If they have some unimaginably strong foundation, then destroying the Baji Palace is simply a pipe dream. Lung Zishi said. Lin Feng realized that he had underestimated Lung Zishi. Her analysis of the matter was reasonable, which greatly surprised Lin Feng. He felt that the Lung Zishi he saw might only be the tip of the iceberg. As for why he had such a feeling, Lin Feng didn't know. However, this feeling was very strong. Of course, Lin Feng wouldn't say much because he was getting along well with Lung Zishi. Lin Feng also had a good feeling about her. When he was with Lung Zishi, Lin Feng felt very relaxed. "Let's find Yun Tianyu and the others first," Lin Feng said. Then, he flew towards the direction of the Lesser Western Paradise. "Where are you going?" Lung Zishi asked. "Back to the Lesser Western Paradise and wait for Yun Tianyu's people to contact me," Lin Feng said. "How do you know that Yun Tianyu's people will contact you?" Lung Zishi asked. "I guessed," Lin Feng said. Lung Zishi pursed her lips and said, "What if they don't contact us and we get blocked by the three ancestors of the Baji Palace?" Chapter 4969. What you said makes sense. "In that case, let's return to Little Western Paradise City," said Lung Zishi. "Let's go," said Lung Zishi. Lin Feng and Lung Zishi swaggered back to Little Western Paradise City. Many people were surprised to see them. They just left Little Western Paradise City not long ago. Why are they back? Yeah, I wonder what they're thinking. Aren't they afraid of being surrounded by the three ancestors of 8 Extreme Palace? Surrounded? What? The three ancestors of 8 Extreme Palace have already left. They went back to their ancestral land to heal. Why did the two of them return to the Western Paradise City? Who knows? Many people couldn't help but start discussing. They were all trying to guess why Lin Feng and Lung Zishi had returned to Little Western Paradise City. After returning, Lin Feng and Lung Zishi went straight to the City Lord Mansion. The position of City Lord of Little Western Paradise City was held by the people of 8 Extreme Palace. Everyone knew this. Lin Feng naturally knew this as well. Moreover, Lin Feng knew that the current city lord was Situ Tianyu's father. Therefore, Lin Feng suggested destroying the city lord mansion on the way. He wanted to show off his strength to 8 Extreme Palace. Although this wouldn't hurt 8 Extreme Palace, it would still be a huge loss. However, doing so would damage the reputation of the 8 Extreme Palace. Of course, most importantly, that way, Lin Feng would be able to vent his anger and anger. Lung Zishi, who loved to see the world plunged into chaos, was extremely excited when she heard Lin Feng's suggestion. "Let's follow them and see what they're up to," said a cultivator. Many people followed them. They wanted to see what Lin Feng and Lung Zishi were up to. Soon, they discovered that Lin Feng and Lung Zishi were going straight to the City Lord Mansion. 8 million years ago, the people of 8 Extreme Palace took charge of the City Lord Mansion of Little Western Paradise City. There have been 6 city lords in total. Many experts of 8 Extreme Palace are stationed in the City Lord Mansion. Now, Lin Feng is going there. What is he trying to do? Is he trying to deal with the experts of 8 Extreme Palace in the City Lord Mansion? Said a cultivator. "I feel that it's possible." Someone replied. He really felt that Lin Feng was going to deal with the cultivators of 8 Extreme Palace in the City Lord Mansion. After all, Lin Feng and 8 Extreme Palace were now in an irreconcilable relationship. Lin Feng's strength was formidable. In addition, the 3 ancestors of 8 Extreme Palace had returned to their ancestral land. Although there were many experts of 8 Extreme Palace in the City Lord Mansion, there were no true immortals guarding the place. On the other hand, Lin Feng was an expert who could contend with true immortals. Therefore, many people believed that if Lin Feng really wanted to deal with the experts of 8 Extreme Palace in the City Lord Mansion, those people might really be killed by Lin Feng. At this time, another cultivator said, Lin Feng is indeed powerful. If he takes action, it's possible for him to destroy the City Lord Mansion. However, the City Lord Mansion has already been reinforced with many powerful grand formations. If those grand formations are activated, Lin Feng will be trapped in them. It's hard to say what the result will be. Another cultivator agreed. This brother is right. The result of a battle between cultivators depends on various factors. One's strength is one aspect, but external factors are also very important. Grand formations can often play a role in reversing the result of a battle. There are too many such cases. For example, the Undying Realm Lord was almost killed. Wasn't it because he was careless and accidentally entered a grand formation and was injured by Yun Tianyu and the others? If it wasn't for the Undying Realm Lord's superb means, I'm afraid it wouldn't be as simple as being injured. He would have died without a burial place. We'll know the result of this battle later. Let's see if Lin Feng will destroy the City Lord Mansion, or if the experts of the City Lord Mansion will use the power of the grand formations to kill Lin Feng. An old man said. The others nodded. Everyone was naturally looking forward to this battle. There were many informants in the City Lord Mansion. When Lin Feng and Leng Zishi entered the city, they didn't hide their identities. They swaggered into the city. Therefore, the news of Lin Feng and Leng Zishi entering the city was immediately known by the City Lord Mansion. The news of Lin Feng and Leng Zishi heading straight to the City Lord Mansion was also known by the City Lord Mansion. This news spread like wildfire and quickly spread throughout the city. When everyone heard that Lin Feng was going to destroy the City Lord Mansion, they were very shocked. Then, a large number of cultivators rushed towards the City Lord Mansion. When Lin Feng and Leng Zishi arrived at the City Lord Mansion, the City Lord Mansion was already enveloped by a powerful restriction. It seemed like the cultivators of the City Lord Mansion were already prepared for battle. They were waiting for Lin Feng's arrival. As expected, the City Lord Mansion's people have activated the Grand Formation. There are many dangers inside the Grand Formation. Once someone falls into the Grand Formation, they will encounter extremely troublesome matters. At that time, they can only passively take a beating. Lin Feng probably knows this as well. Therefore, I guess he will return empty-handed. A cultivator said. He felt that Lin Feng wouldn't rashly enter the City Lord Mansion. Who knows? Maybe Lin Feng is very confident in himself and will take the risk to enter the City Lord Mansion, said another cultivator. Actually, many people hoped that Lin Feng would go into the palace because people like to watch a good show, so of course they wanted to watch a good show. In any case, this matter had nothing to do with them. They didn't care about the final result. Of course, if possible, they still hoped that Lin Feng would destroy the City Lord Mansion. This was because many people hated the 8 Extreme Palace. However, the 8 Extreme Palace was too powerful. No one dared to offend the 8 Extreme Palace. Therefore, no matter how much they hated the 8 Extreme Palace, they naturally didn't dare to say it out loud. More and more cultivators rushed over. Even Shui Yuexin was here. Now that Shui Yuexin knew that Lu Shaoqing had left Minor Western Sky City, her heart was filled with mixed feelings. There was an indescribable bitterness in her heart. Chapter 4970. Leng Zishi shouted from the outside. The people inside, listen up. You've been surrounded. If you know what's good for you, come out quickly. This way, we can give you a quick death. If you don't know how to appreciate favors after we break through the formation outside, you will definitely die miserably. When the cultivators outside saw that Leng Zishi was threatening the cultivators of the Ba Ji Palace, they couldn't help but roll their eyes. Lin Feng and the others only had 2 people. How could they encircle the Ba Ji Palace? Did they think that the mansion's people were fools? Of course, There were also those who felt that Lung Zishi was a very interesting person. She was probably just entertaining herself right now. Lin Feng, come in if you have the ability. Let us see what you're capable of. At this time, a sneer came from the mansion. After hearing this sneer, many people couldn't help but be stunned. The people from the mansion were actually provoking Lin Feng. Clearly, these cultivators were very confident in the formation that enveloped the mansion. They were provoking Lin Feng in order to anger him. Then, they hoped that the angry Lin Feng would enter the mansion. At that time, Lin Feng would be surrounded by the formation. They could then activate the formation to kill Lin Feng. You really think that a mere formation can deal with me? What a laughable and foolish fellow. Lin Feng sneered. Don't brag outside. Come in if you have the ability. After you come in, we'll beat you until you kneel and call us daddy. More people continued to provoke Lin Feng. After hearing the cultivators of the Ba Ji Palace provoking Lin Feng, many people couldn't help but murmur. Those cultivators of the Ba Ji Palace were really good at talking. Anyone who heard that kind of mockery would be furious, right? Moreover, in everyone's opinion, Lin Feng was a decisive killer with a domineering personality. How could Lin Feng endure being humiliated like this? Therefore, many people felt that Lin Feng would definitely enter the city lord's mansion. What Lin Feng needed to do now was to remain calm and not enter the city lord mansion. Once he did, he would fall right into the hands of the 8 extreme palace cultivators. When that happened, he would become a turtle in a jar, unable to escape even if he had wings. I'll fulfill your wishes. I'll chop off your heads later. Lin Feng's voice was cold as he walked towards the city lord's residence. My God, he's really going to enter the city lord's mansion. He's still too young. Once provoked, it's easy for him to do something impulsive. I wonder what will happen later. The surrounding cultivators who were watching the show immediately began to discuss spiritedly. Lung Zi, she also quickly followed. She was someone who liked to join in the fun. How could she not go in? Lin Feng also knew that he could not persuade Lung Zishi, so he did not stop Lung Zishi. Furthermore, Lin Feng also wanted to observe and see what kind of cultivation Lung Zishi had. Soon, Lin Feng and Lung Zishi entered the city lord's mansion. When they entered, the array was instantly activated. The white fog rolled, and the killing intent was dense. The situation inside the city lord's mansion was completely covered by the white fog, so no one could see what was going on inside the city lord's mansion. Lin Feng, die. At this time, a cold voice came from the city lord's mansion. Everyone knew that this was the voice of an expert from the 8 extreme palace. Although there were no true immortal experts in the city lord's mansion, in reality, the city lord of the city lord's mansion, Situ Tianya's father, Situ Mingquan, was also an extremely terrifying existence. He was only one step away from the true immortal realm. However, it was said that his talent was amazing, so his combat strength was comparable to many true immortal experts. With such an expert in charge, coupled with the power of the Great Array, this was where the confidence of the 8 extreme palace cultivators came from. At least, that was what many cultivators who were watching the show thought. How is this possible? Why is our Great Array ineffective against you? At this time, the voice of the 8 extreme palace cultivators came from the city lord's mansion again. However, this time, it was the voice of the 8 extreme palace cultivators who were frightened. After the voice just now, there was an incomparably mournful scream. These were also the voices of the 8 extreme palace cultivators. Retreat, retreat quickly, retreat to the deepest part. A low voice came out. Some people recognized the owner of this voice. It was the voice of the city lord, Situ Mingquan. Everyone was shocked. No one could see what was going on inside, so they could only judge what was going on based on the voice. judging from the voices of the 8 extreme palace cultivators. The great array that enveloped the city lord's mansion didn't cause any harm to Lin Feng. These people mainly relied on the great array to deal with Lin Feng. If the great array couldn't hurt Lin Feng, it would be a disaster. Therefore, miserable screams came out one after another. The 8 extreme palace cultivators fell under the attacks of Lin Feng and Lung Zishi. Situ Mingquan ordered the experts of the 8 extreme palace to retreat to the depths of the city lord's mansion. There should be an even more powerful array there, right? How can this be? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. Before the battle, everyone had speculated about many possible scenarios. The only thing they didn't expect was the current situation. One could imagine that the city lord's mansion was now a sea of corpses and blood. Hee, weren't you guys very arrogant before? Why are you scared now? At this time, Lung Zishi's voice came from the city lord's mansion. Activate the ultimate great array to deal with them. Situ Mingquan's voice came again. Waves of violent fluctuations came from the city lord's mansion. Even though they were far away, after feeling the violent fluctuations, many people's faces turned pale. The fluctuations were so terrifying that it made their hair stand on end. One could imagine how powerful the ultimate great array was. While many people were still speculating whether Lin Feng could withstand the attack of the ultimate great array, the 8 extreme palace cultivators cried out in despair. Why? Why is this happening? Why can't the ultimate great array hurt you? Go to hell and ask the king of hell. Lin Feng's voice came for the first time. Horrible shrieks filled the air. Many people begged for mercy, but Lin Feng didn't pay attention to them. When all the voices disappeared, the atmosphere became calm again. What's the situation in the city lord's mansion now? Some cultivators couldn't help but mutter. Everyone was waiting. If no one activated it, the great array would gradually disperse. Chapter 4971. Dead. They're all dead. Even the city lord, Situ Mingquan, died inside. A cultivator said in horror. There were at least 1,000 corpses inside, all of which belonged to the experts of the Baji Palace. The originally lively city lord mansion had now turned into a purgatory. Lin Feng is really a terrifying person. We can't offend such a person. Otherwise, we'll be doomed. Someone said with a pale face, "This person is decisive in killing. He's definitely someone who can achieve great things." Before the rise of the Sin realm, many people thought that Lin Feng was just a chess piece pushed to the front. They thought that there was an expert behind the rise of the Sin realm. But now, it seems that this theory is not very reliable. Now that I've seen Lin Feng's means, I'm more willing to believe that the rise of the Sin realm is actually due to Lin Feng's contribution. Another cultivator said. Many people whispered to each other, talking about Lin Feng, the battle, and Lin Feng's character. Many people even planned to go to the Sin realm to seek refuge with Lin Feng because they felt that if they joined Lin Feng, they might have a good future. Many people had such thoughts. Of course, for now, Lin Feng didn't know about the various thoughts of the cultivators in the outside world. He and Lung Zishi left the little western paradise city. "Your Excellency, you can come out now." After coming out, Lin Feng looked at the void behind him and said he had already sensed that someone was following him. Lin Feng guessed that perhaps the person he was waiting for had already arrived. Moreover, he was hiding in the dark to observe him. A middle-aged man stepped out of the void. The middle-aged man was thin and looked a little sickly. He looked at Lin Feng in surprise and said, "Fellow Taoist Lin, you're really capable. My concealment technique can't be discovered by ordinary people." Now that everyone knew that Lin Feng's combat strength was equivalent to the true immortal realm, this person actually called Lin Feng fellow Taoist. Obviously, this person was a true immortal realm expert. Lin Feng said, I cultivate the Tao of space, so I'm more sensitive to space. The middle-aged cultivator smiled and said, so that's how it is. Fellow cultivator Lin's methods are truly admirable. Let me introduce myself. I'm Qi Zishu, a friend of Yun Tianyu. I came here because Yun Tianyu asked me to invite fellow cultivator Lin for a chat. After hearing this person's words, Lin Feng suddenly felt a little happy. It seemed that he would soon know the whereabouts of Feng Yaoguang. Naturally, he was very happy. Lin Feng said, Brother Qi, please lead the way. Brother Lin, follow me. Qi Zishu also changed the way he addressed Lin Feng. He led the way while Lin Feng and Lung Zixi quickly followed behind. Lin Feng asked, I believe Brother Qi must have participated in the battle against the Undying World Overlord, right? Yes. Unfortunately, we still failed, although we successfully activated those ancient great formations and drew out the baleful Yin Qi that had accumulated underground for hundreds of millions of years to deal with the Undying World Overlord. We still couldn't kill him. The Undying World Overlord's cultivation is probably at the peak of the Golden Immortal Realm. Of course, it's also possible that he's at the Sage Immortal Realm. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to escape. Qi Zishu said with a sigh, this battle was truly a pity for them. Lin Feng said, however, being able to severely injure the Undying World Overlord is already a very shocking achievement. Qi Zishu said, I can only console myself like this. By the way, Brother Qi, I wonder if there are any experts among the ancient survivors with Brother Yin? Lin Feng asked. Previously, Lin Feng had addressed Yun Tianyu as Senior Yun. This showed that he respected Yun Tianyu. In fact, with Lin Feng's current strength, he could already be considered as Yun Tianyu's peer. Since Yun Tianyu's good friend addressed him as fellow Taoist, Lin Feng naturally had to change the way he addressed Yun Tianyu. Otherwise, wouldn't the seniority be messed up? Qi Zishu said, there is indeed a master of the ancient remnant with Brother Yun. After you meet him, you can ask him if you have any questions. Lin Feng nodded. He was very excited, but Lin Feng was trying his best to control his emotions. 2 hours later, Lin Feng met Yun Tianyu and another cultivator in a valley in the forest. The other cultivators who had participated in the battle against the world leader of the immortal world and the 3 ancestors of the Baji Palace weren't there. Lin Feng guessed that those cultivators had probably left already. Yun Tianyu and the others were there because they wanted to see him. Brother Yun, I've brought Brother Lin here. This time, Brother Lin killed more than 1,000 experts from the 8 Extreme Palace. Even Situ Mingkuan was killed by Brother Lin. How satisfying! Qi Zishu laughed. After hearing this, Yun Tianyu and the other cultivator's eyes lit up. The other cultivator was a very gentle-looking, middle-aged cultivator with a righteous expression. Lin Feng guessed that he was an ancient survivor. Yun Tianyu said, Brother Wang, this is the Sinner's Blood King I mentioned to you, Lin Feng. The cultivator called Brother Wang smiled and cupped his fists. Brother Lin, my surname is Wang, and my name is Yunshan. I've heard Brother Yun mention Brother Lin before, so I've been acquainted with Brother Lin for a long time. Now that I've met you, I'm truly shocked. Brother Wang is too kind. Lin Feng cupped his fists and said politely. Yun Tianyu said, Brother Lin, I've already asked around about that female friend of yours. Brother Wang said that a female cultivator has indeed come from the primordial remnant. Her name is Feng Yaoguang. If you want to ask anything, you can ask Brother Wang. Lin Feng's eyes lit up when he heard that. Lin Feng looked at Wang Yunshan and asked, Brother Wang, how is Yaoguang right now? She has entered the reincarnation passage. She wants to enter the reincarnation passage to find her lost memories. Wang Yunshan sighed. Reincarnation passage? What's that? Lin Feng's expression changed slightly. Chapter 4972. The reincarnation passage would open after 1,000 years. He would only know if Feng Yaoguang was dead or alive after 1,000 years. Would the epoch be destroyed after 1,000 years? Would the six Taoists collapse? These were all uncertainties. Therefore, the 1,000 years that Wang Yunshan mentioned might be an eternal parting. Lin Feng's expression turned ugly. He wanted to find Feng Yaoguang and help her. He was worried about her safety, but he was powerless. It was a terrible feeling. Is there really no way to open the reincarnation passage again? Lin Feng asked, unwilling to give up. Wang Yunshan said, if there's a way, it's not completely impossible. It's said that if you can enter the heaven-devouring secret realm, you might be able to enter the reincarnation passage from there. Heaven-devouring secret realm? Lin Feng was shocked. The heaven-devouring secret realm was a secret realm left behind by Lin Feng's ancestor, the heaven-devouring evil emperor. Lin Feng even had a token to enter the heaven-devouring secret realm. However, Lin Feng had never heard of any news about the heaven-devouring secret realm, let alone entering it. However, Lin Feng was shocked that there was a way to enter the reincarnation passage in the heaven-devouring secret realm. Lin Feng did not know what it was, so he asked, how does one enter the reincarnation passage from the heaven-devouring secret realm? Wang Yunshan said, I'm not too sure, but since there's such a thing, there must be a way. As for how to enter the reincarnation passage, we'll have to wait until the cultivator enters the heaven-devouring secret realm, or they'll have to figure it out on their own. Lin Feng said, but there hasn't been any news about the heaven-devouring secret realm. The heaven-devouring secret realm should be appearing soon. Wang Yunshan said. Lin Feng's eyes lit up. He asked curiously, why do you say that? Do you have any evidence? Because it is said that the sky-devouring secret realm will appear once every 10 million years. It has been exactly 10 million years since the last time the sky-devouring secret realm appeared. It is now 3 months. That is to say, the sky-devouring secret realm will appear one day in the next 9 months. However, it is hard to say whether the sky-devouring secret realm will appear in the undying world. It might appear in the heaven realm or somewhere in the mortal world. This secret realm is very special. It drifts in space and time and can only be seen when it appears in the mortal world. Wang Yunshan said. After hearing Wang Yunshan's words, Lin Feng was both happy and worried. He was happy that the heaven-devouring secret realm was about to appear, but worried that the heaven-devouring secret realm was not in the undying world. If he was in another world, he wouldn't know either. Perhaps the token would be able to sense the location of the heaven-devouring secret realm. However, even if the token was able to sense it, there were still some tricky things that he had to consider. For example, if the sky-devouring secret realm appeared in the heaven realm, chaotic Xianhuang world, or other places, he wouldn't be able to go there even if he knew where it was. It would be better if it appeared in the mortal world. At most, he could leave the undying world and go to the mortal world. At that time, he could still return to the undying world. However, there was no way for Lin Feng to go to those worlds. Therefore, Lin Feng prayed that the sky-devouring secret realm would not appear in those worlds. It would be best if it appeared in the undying world. This way, he would be able to enter the sky-devouring secret realm immediately. Lin Feng originally wanted to find the sky-devouring secret realm and take away the item left behind by his ancestor, the sky-devouring demon emperor. Now that he knew that the sky-devouring secret realm could enter the reincarnation passage, Lin Feng was even more eager to enter the sky-devouring secret realm. However, these things couldn't be rushed. Lin Feng was very clear about this. Wang Yunshan said, "We can understand your feelings, but you need to wait for the right opportunity." Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng said, I have a plan to deal with the 8 Extreme Palace. I wonder if the 3 of you would like to hear it. What plan? The 3 of them looked at Lin Feng in astonishment. Lin Feng said, now that the 3 ancestors of the 8 Extreme Palace are injured, this is the best opportunity to eliminate the 8 Extreme Palace. If we work together, we should be able to eliminate the 8 Extreme Palace. Why don't we take advantage of this opportunity to eliminate the 8 Extreme Palace? What do you all think? Yun Tianyu, Wang Yunshan, and Qi Zishu fell into deep thought. Qi Zishu said, the threat of the 8 Extreme Palace's 3 ancestors has indeed been greatly reduced. Moreover, Brother Lin seems to have grasped some terrifying means that allow him to ignore the attacks of the 8 Extreme Palace's grand formation. I think this plan is feasible. The only thing I'm worried about is that the 8 Extreme Palace might have other trump cards up their sleeves. Moreover, their trump cards might be extremely terrifying. Don't worry. If we're talking about trump cards, I have my own trump cards as well. If we can't eliminate the 8 Extreme Palace, my trump cards will allow us to leave safely. Lin Feng said. Yun Tianyu, Wang Yunshan, and Qi Zishu's eyes lit up when they heard that. Yun Tianyu asked, Brother Lin, what is your trump card? Ancient demon weapons. Lin Feng said. Hiss. Yun Tianyu, Wang Yunshan, and Qi Zishu sucked in a cold breath when they heard Lin Feng mention ancient demon weapons. Ancient weapons were indeed the most powerful and terrifying trump cards. Once they were unleashed, their power would be unimaginable. However, ancient weapons weren't easy to use. The current situation was a little different because Yun Tianyu and the others were true immortals. Thus, using ancient weapons shouldn't be a problem. Lin Feng said, that's why I think we should give it a try. Even if we can't destroy the 8 Extreme Palace, we should be able to deal a great blow to its vitality. It would be even better if we can destroy the 8 Extreme Palace. Yun Tianyu said, all right, let's give it a try. There's no time to lose. Let's head to the 8 Extreme Palace right now. Qi Zishu said, if we can destroy the 8 Extreme Palace, the entire undying world will be in an uproar. I'm really looking forward to that scene. Hee, let's go and destroy those bastards from the 8 Extreme Palace. Wang Yunshan grinned. As an ancient remnant, he hated the 8 Extreme Palace to the bone. But now, he could see the hope of destroying the 8 Extreme Palace, so he was naturally very happy. Chapter 4973. The 8 Extreme Palace was located in the famous Western Ancient Forest. It was located in the depths of the forest, where immortal mist lingered in the air. Between the mountains, there were auspicious clouds. This was the ancestral ground of the 8 Extreme Palace. For many people, the 8 Extreme Palace was a power that they yearned to join. Not only was it powerful, it also had the backing of the heavenly court. If one could join the 8 Extreme Palace, their life would be completely different. Every year, many people would come to the 8 Extreme Palace in order to join. However, these people were destined to return empty-handed. Joining the 8 Extreme Palace was an extremely difficult matter. The 8 Extreme Palace rarely recruited disciples from the outside. First, the disciples were chosen from the descendants of the sect. Second, the sect had people who were responsible for searching for geniuses. These people would roam all over the place in order to find geniuses with exceptional talents and bring them to the 8 Extreme Palace. Of course, this didn't mean that 8 Extreme Palace didn't recruit external disciples. In fact, they would occasionally hold recruitment ceremonies. However, the last time they recruited external cultivators was more than 700 years ago. When Lin Feng's group arrived, they saw many people kneeling outside the sect. These were all cultivators who wanted to join 8 Extreme Palace. However, no one cared about them. A great sect like 8 Extreme Palace naturally wouldn't recruit them. just because they were kneeling on the ground. The greater the sect, the more ruthless they would be. Soon, this place will turn into ruins. Lung Zishi giggled, revealing a devilish grin on her face. Lin Feng's group directly flew towards 8 Extreme Palace. A patrolling disciple flew over and coldly shouted, "Impudent! You think 8 Extreme Palace is a place for people like you to casually barge in? Scram right now, or we'll kill you all." As soon as the cultivator's voice faded, Wang Yinshan had already made his move. He sent a palm strike towards those people. An incomparably huge energy palm print condensed in the void. The energy palm print instantly killed more than 10 patrolling disciples. Heavens! Someone killed a patrolling disciple of 8 Extreme Palace. Why are these people causing trouble in the sect's ancestral ground? Are they out of their minds? Naturally, the situation here couldn't be hidden from the many cultivators kneeling outside who wanted to join the 8-level palace. Immediately, some of them exclaimed in disbelief. Due to the heavenly court support, the 8-level palace had even suppressed the Western Heaven Immortal sect's momentum. Therefore, who would dare to provoke a colossus like the 8-level palace? Especially since this was the sect's ancestral ground, the sect's foundation was located here. However, even under such circumstances, those people still came here to cause trouble. It was no wonder that the surrounding cultivators were so shocked and moved. Woo, woo, woo. There were more than 10 patrolling disciples. Instead, they were divided into several groups. When the other patrolling groups saw the situation here, they immediately blew their horns. Next, the 8 Extreme Palace's grand formation was activated. Lin Feng's group was instantly enveloped by the grand formation. A large number of cultivators from Ba Ji Palace flew over quickly. Their leader was a skinny old man with sunken eyes and a withered body. He looked like a ferocious ghost that had crawled out from hell. The old man was the Vice Palace Lord of Ba Ji Palace. His nickname was Mysterious Ghost Elder. He was an expert who cultivated both evil and devil cultivation. His evil and devil cultivation were extremely powerful. Although he was only at the quasi-true immortal realm, many true immortal realm experts might not be his match. As for the Palace Lord of Ba Ji Palace, he was the father of young Master Mingyu. He was currently in the hidden gate of life and death, so he didn't appear. Yun Tianyu, Qi Zishu, Wang Yinshan. It's actually you. Are you here to court death? After seeing Yun Tianyu's group, Ghost Elder Profound Yin's face suddenly revealed a dense killing intent. He didn't know Lin Feng and Lung Zishi. Both of them were extremely young, so he naturally didn't put them in his eyes. In his opinion, Lin Feng and Lung Zishi were just nobodies. Those who knew Lin Feng were basically all killed by Lin Feng's group in Minor Western Paradise City. Young Master Mingyue also knew Lin Feng, but he wasn't in 8 Extreme Palace right now. The 3 ancestors of 8 Extreme Palace also knew Lin Feng, but they were currently in seclusion. Thus, no one in 8 Extreme Palace could recognize Lin Feng. The experts stationed in Minor Western Paradise City had been killed. The people in 8 Extreme Palace's ancestral land didn't know about it for the time being, as the news had yet to reach them. However, the higher-ups of 8 Extreme Palace already knew about Situ Mingquan's death. Someone like Situ Mingquan had a Yuan soul lamp in 8 Extreme Palace. Ordinary cultivators weren't qualified to set up a Yuan soul lamp. Thus, the higher-ups of 8 Extreme Palace could only determine Situ Mingquan's death based on the Yuan soul lamp. They had no way of knowing about the deaths of others. Thus, the higher-ups of 8 Extreme Palace were furious. They had already sent people to investigate how Situ Mingquan died. Wang Yinshan said, "Ghost Elder Profounding, you are just a quasi-true immortal. You dare act so presumptuously in front of us. You really don't know the meaning of death. Who do you think you are?" Do you really think you're a great character? Ghost Elder Profound In said coldly. Wang Yinshan, you people of ancient times should be cut into pieces. This seat knows that you people are strong, but this is 8 Extreme Palaces' ancestral land. With the foundation here, we can easily kill you all. You're even better at bragging than Situmingkuan. Lung Zishi said sarcastically. You killed Situmingkuan. Ghost Elder Profound Yin's expression became extremely unsightly. Lin Feng smiled and said, to be precise, it has nothing to do with Brother Yun, Brother Qi, or Brother Wang. It was me and this fairy beside me who killed him. Not only did we kill Situmingkuan, but we also killed all the experts stationed in Minor Western Paradise City. What? The spectral elder's expression changed abruptly when he heard this. Next, boundless killing intent emerged from his heart. It had always been his 8-level palace that annihilated the other powers. When had his 8-level palace ever suffered such a huge loss? For the upper echelons of the Baji Palace, this was something they absolutely could not accept. Chapter 4974. Although the old man found it hard to believe that such a young cultivator could be so powerful, there was no lack of young and heaven-defying existences in this world. For example, the 8 young nobles of the Undying Realm and the recently risen Sinner King, Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and said, I am the Sinner King, Lin Feng. You are that Lin Feng? The mysterious dark ghost elder's eyes widened. Then he burst out laughing. Lung Zishi said, Old man, are you scared out of your wits? Shut up, little bitch. I'll pluck you later. The old man's evil eyes stared at Lung Zishi. Due to the fact that this old man cultivated an evil merit law, he was very evil. Moreover, he also cultivated the art of plucking others. Now that he saw how charming Lung Zishi was, he naturally had some evil thoughts. Old bastard, you dare to scheme against me? Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? I'll castrate you later. Lung Zishi immediately cursed loudly. Her personality was quite fierce. Lin Feng's group couldn't help but smile wryly after hearing her cursing. This young lady was indeed ferocious. She could really say anything and dare to say anything. If it were any other woman, they would not dare to say such words. The cultivators outside also knew what was going on. Naturally, they had heard of Yun Tianyu and the others. They had also heard of the Emperor of the Sin's Blood, Lin Feng. It turned out that these people had such a great background. They were all peerless experts. They came together. Don't tell me they want to destroy the 8 Extreme Palace? A cultivator asked. Many people's expression changed after hearing this. That was indeed a possibility. These people were most likely here to destroy the 8 Extreme Palace. Even though they're strong, this is the ancestral land of the Ba-Ji Palace. The Ba-Ji Palace is an ancient influential group. They must have a lot of resources. They can easily kill Lin Feng and the others. Someone said, clearly, this cultivator was very confident in 8 Extreme Palace's foundation. He believed that 8 Extreme Palace would definitely win this battle, and that Lin Feng and the others would most likely die here. There were quite a number of people who agreed with this cultivator. Of course, there were also some people who felt that Lin Feng's group wasn't simple. It wouldn't be easy for the Baji Palace to kill these people. As for the outcome, perhaps it would be revealed soon. You won't shed tears until you see the coffin. Let me show you the power of my Baji Palace, the mysterious dark ghost elder said coldly. With a wave of his hand, the terrifying formation was activated. Boom, boom, boom. A meteor shower began to fall from the 9 heavens. Meteorites fell one after another, burning rapidly in the process of falling. These meteorites weren't big. The smaller ones were around 100 meters in diameter, while the bigger ones were around 1,000 meters in diameter. The power of those meteorites was extremely powerful, especially when those meteorites burned. The power of those meteorites seemed to have increased a lot. When those meteorites came crashing down, the void was shattered by those meteorites. After seeing this scene, the cultivators of the 8 Extreme Palace were naturally incomparably proud. The cultivators outside were also incomparably shocked. What a powerful meteor shower! The power was too terrifying. It was simply despairing. "Follow me," Lin Feng said. He didn't intend to resist the 8 Extreme Palaces formation because these formations were too terrifying. It was an extremely unwise choice to do so. Once they fell into the formation's attack, it would be very troublesome. Even if they were strong, they could still be killed by the formation. Lin Feng was clear about this. Yun Tianyu and the others were also very clear about this because they had used similar methods to almost eliminate a terrifying existence like the Undying Realm Lord. Yun Tianyu and the others also knew that Lin Feng seemed to have the ability to ignore the formation's power. Therefore, they all followed behind Lin Feng. Lin Feng and the others moved through the formation. The dense meteor shower fell down, but none of them could touch Lin Feng and the others. After seeing this scene, the expressions of the profound dark ghost elder and the other cultivators of the 8 Extreme Palace became extremely unsightly. Their expressions were extremely gloomy. The development of the situation seemed to be somewhat different from what they had imagined. Of course, they weren't particularly flustered because this was just the beginning. The cultivators of the 8 Extreme Palace continued to activate the other great formations. All kinds of great formations were activated. Then, the densely packed great formations all rushed towards Lin Feng. Waves of extremely terrifying fluctuations swept through the world, shaking the void. Facing the rain of attacks from the various great formations, it was too difficult to resist. However, Lin Feng was very calm. In the face of these terrifying attacks, Lin Feng led the group through the great formations. This was the ability of the Heavenly Master Dao. No matter what kind of formation it was, it couldn't stop them. Lin Feng's method was truly tyrannical. Even Yun Tianyu and the others couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. They had never seen someone like Lin Feng, who could ignore the various great formations. This ability was truly too frightening. If the group knew how Lin Feng destroyed the City Lord Mansion back then, they wouldn't be as confident as before. Now, they were panicking because Lin Feng could ignore the attacks of the great formations. Even a true immortal would die in front of such a terrifying formation. However, it couldn't cause any harm to Lin Feng's group. This was naturally a huge blow to the group. "Retreat! Quickly retreat!" Old Man Xian Yin shouted in a deep voice. They quickly rushed towards the depths of the 8 Extreme Palace. However, at this time, Lin Feng led everyone out of the great formation. "Kill!" Wang Yinshan shouted, and quickly rushed towards the cultivators of the 8 Extreme Palace. Wang Yinshan looked very gentle, but even the most gentle person would turn into a madman in the face of a blood feud. Wang Yinshan was like this, and so was Yun Tianyu. Many of Wang Yinshan's relatives had died in that battle back then, and Yun Tianyu's lover had died tragically in front of his eyes. Even after so many years had passed, this blood feud was still engraved in his heart. Unfortunately, they weren't as powerful as they were now. Otherwise, this tragedy wouldn't have happened. Chapter 4975. Yun Tianyu, Wang Yinshan, and the others were able to grow to their current level because of their hard work, their talents, and the hatred in their hearts. Although it was said that people should look to the future and not live in the past, they shouldn't live in hatred. However, if they could even forget about hatred, How could they face their dead relatives? The world of cultivators was very cruel. In this cruel world, there were indeed countless people who only cared about their own interests. They didn't even care about the life and death of their relatives, lovers, and friends. Such people naturally could easily put down the hatred in their hearts. However, there were also some people who couldn't let go. Yun Tianyu and Wang Yinshan were such people. Therefore, they wanted to kill. They wanted to kill their enemies and avenge their dead relatives, family, friends, and lovers. They crazily slaughtered the cultivators of the 8 Extreme Palace. Miserable screams resounded one after another. A large number of cultivators were killed by them. No one could stop their footsteps. The cultivators outside, who wanted to join the 8 Extreme Palace to learn, were scared pale as paper after seeing this scene. Fortunately, they didn't join the 8 Extreme Palace. If they had joined the 8 Extreme Palace, but now, perhaps they would have turned into cold corpses by now. Lin Feng held the black dragon sword and slashed out. A powerful sword chi shot out and instantly killed dozens of cultivators of the 8 Extreme Palace. Lin Feng didn't sympathize with those cultivators because they were his enemies. In the world of cultivators, if you didn't kill your enemies, you would be killed by your enemies. Therefore, how could Lin Feng sympathize with his enemies? Sympathizing with his enemies was the same as being cruel to himself. Perhaps one day, the enemies you sympathize with will kill your loved ones, your family members, your lovers, and your friends. This is all possible. Because of this, Lin Feng had long developed a cold heart. Of course, Lin Feng's cold heart treated his enemies. He had always been very gentle and friendly to his relatives, family, lovers, and friends. A large number of corpses piled up on the ground. Lin Feng and the others killed their way to the depths of the 8 Extreme Palace. Asked the old ancestors to come out. Old man Xian Yin screamed in horror. If it was possible, he naturally did not want to alarm the ancestors who were in seclusion. However, they were unable to fend off the attacks of Lin Feng's group at all. They had suffered extremely heavy losses, so they could only ask the ancestors who were in seclusion to deal with Lin Feng's group. Old man Xian Yin and the others retreated to the deepest part of the mountain. That was the main peak, and there were powerful defensive restrictions. They activated the defensive restrictions, and those defensive restrictions blocked Lin Feng and the others outside. Yun Tianyu asked, "How long will it take?" Lin Feng said, "The shortest is 3 days. The longest is 7 days." The guardian array here was very powerful, so it was not easy to break it. Yun Tianyu and the others nodded. They were also proficient in formations, but they were far inferior to Lin Feng. However, when Lin Feng was breaking the array, they could help him from the side. With their help, the situation would be much better. At that time, they would be able to shorten the time needed to break the array. Lin Feng and the others did not waste any time. They immediately began trying to break the array. While Lin Feng and the others were breaking the array, the 3 ancestors and the palace master of the 8 Extreme Palace all came out of seclusion. When they saw Lin Feng and the others, the 3 ancestors' faces turned gloomy. In fact, the palace master's authority had been greatly reduced after the 3 ancestors came out. He was no longer a person who could carry enormous weight. There was nothing they could do about it. Cultivators, like them, naturally had no way to compete for power with these experts. If these experts wanted to cripple these palace masters and vice palace masters, they probably wouldn't dare to say anything. This was because the world of cultivators was a world where the strong were respected. The words of whoever had the strongest fist were the imperial edict. Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, you actually came to the 8 Extreme Palace. Are you here to die? Today, I will make sure you die, without a burial ground. Zhou Zihen's resentful voice sounded when he saw Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, and the others. He hated Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, and the others to the bone. Especially now, Lin Feng and the others had actually killed their way to the ancestral land of the Eight Extreme Palace. It was a slap to their faces. Naturally, they were furious. You're still boasting even now? I want to see what other tricks you have up your sleeves. Lin Feng sneered. Zhou Zihin said, "Let's move the sacred ancestors' statue." Sun Yuanqing and Dongfang Sheng nodded. Then, the three of them revealed extremely pious expressions. Then, they knelt in the direction of the Eight Extreme Palace's main hall. "Oh, great sacred ancestors' statue. Now, the Eight Extreme Palace is in danger of being exterminated. Oh, great sacred ancestor statue, please awaken. Come and annihilate these sinners who dare to invade the Eight Extreme Palace." As soon as the three of them finished speaking, the two huge statues standing on both sides of the main hall shook violently. The two statues were about 20 meters tall and looked very ordinary. However, at this moment, the two statues were shaking violently. Moreover, the two statues were emitting extremely terrifying fluctuations. When he felt the powerful fluctuations emitted from the two statues, Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal an extremely shocked expression. This was because the fluctuations made him feel a dangerous aura. Could it be an existence similar to the evil god's statue? Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. The evil god statue that Lin Feng had obtained before was extremely powerful. It had the cultivation of a true immortal. When Lin Feng's cultivation hadn't increased, he couldn't release the full power of the statue. Therefore, the evil god's statue had always been at the early stage of a true immortal. However, as Lin Feng's cultivation continued to increase, the two statues' battle prowess also continued to increase. There seems to be something different. Lin Feng frowned slightly. These two statues were very special. The aura they emitted was somewhat similar to the evil god's statue, but there were also some differences. However, these two statues were extremely terrifying. They were many times stronger than the two statues he had obtained before. Lin Feng guessed that these two statues should be one of the trump cards of the Eight Extreme Palace. "Who's calling us?" Suddenly, a deep voice resounded between heaven and earth. The two statues had actually opened their mouths to speak. "The ancestor's spirit has appeared. The ancestor's spirit has appeared." Seeing the two statues speaking, the cultivators of the Eight Extreme Palace were extremely excited. They all knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the two statues. Chapter 4976. Sun Yuanqing, Dongfang Sheng, and Zhou Zihin were also incomparably excited. With the appearance of their ancestors and the awakening of the stone statues, they saw the hope of killing Lin Feng and the others. This was naturally something worth celebrating. At this time, the three of them sincerely said, "We are the guardians of the Ba Ji Palace. Now that we have no choice but to awaken our ancestors, we ask the ancestors to protect our Ba Ji Palace." Rumble, rumble. A loud sound shook the heaven and earth. The two stone statues actually walked out step by step. They had completely awakened from their slumber. "Lowly creatures, you actually dare to behave atrociously in the ancestral land of the Ba Ji Palace. You simply don't know life from death. Today, I will send you to hell." The two stone statues opened their mouths at the same time. Their voices were extremely cold, as if they had drifted out from hell. Anyone who heard the voices of the two stone statues would have a creepy feeling. Facing the two terrifying stone statues, the complexion of Lin Feng and the others became slightly dignified. Of course, they were not afraid of the two stone statues. Before the two stone statues arrived, they had already launched an attack on Lin Feng and the others. The two stone statues brandished their battle swords and swept towards Lin Feng and the others. Those were stone swords. Although they were not stone soldiers, they were very special. They were very powerful and couldn't be underestimated. If one dared to underestimate the power of time, they would inevitably suffer a great loss. Lin Feng and the others didn't underestimate the power of the stone swords. In the face of such a powerful attack, Lin Feng and the others also took out their magical weapons. They urged their magical weapons to resist the attack. For example, Lin Feng held the black dragon sword and swept it towards the stone swords. Asterisk clang. Asterisk accompanied by a sonorous collision sound. The stone sword in Lin Feng's hand directly collided with the powerful sword chi of the opponent. Suddenly, a sonorous collision sound was heard. Lin Feng suddenly felt a powerful force that could topple mountains and overturn seas quickly poured into his body. That force was so terrifying that it directly blasted Lin Feng away. Lin Feng's face couldn't help but reveal a trace of horror. The stone statue's attack was too terrifying. It was simply unbelievable. Moreover, the stone statues had yet to display their true combat strength. If they did, who knew how terrifying it would be? In addition to Lin Feng, Lung Zixi was also sent flying. However, Yun Tianyu, Qi Zishu, and Wang Yinshan had completely neutralized the stone statue's attack. Their realms were relatively high, so it wasn't strange that they could neutralize the stone statue's attack. Lin Feng knew that he couldn't hold back in the face of the stone statue's attack. Therefore, Lin Feng poured the power of his avatar, the golden dwarf, the magic lotus, and the ruler's armor into his body. Lin Feng's strength began to rise steadily. Lin Feng's combat strength also greatly increased. He looked at Lung Zixi and said, "Be careful." He, I'm very powerful. It was just a slip of the hand." Lung Zixi said with a grin. It had to be said that this two-faced girl was really an optimist. She didn't seem to know how to spell the word fear. No matter what, she was very cheerful. Of course, perhaps Lung Zixi really did have some powerful means that she hadn't displayed yet. At this moment, Lung Zixi suddenly shouted, "Demon King's protection!" As soon as her voice fell, a ball of flames gushed out of Lung Zixi's body. The ball of flames burned fiercely, protecting Lung Zixi's body. However, Lin Feng could clearly feel that the ball of flames wasn't as simple as a ball of flames. It seemed to have boosted Lung Zixi's combat strength. This feeling was a little strange, but it was so real. Perhaps this was one of Lung Zixi's trump cards. "Everyone, be careful. They're coming." At this moment, Yun Tianyu shouted in a deep voice. A loud rumbling sound was heard as the earth shook violently. The two stone statues rushed over quickly. The two stone statues were like two immortal mountains. When they rushed over, Lin Feng immediately felt that the surrounding void seemed to be imprisoned. Their movement speed was greatly restricted. This is the stone statue domain. It can restrict the movement of cultivators. Qi Zishu said with a solemn expression. These two stone statues were indeed powerful. They were worthy of being the foundation of Ba Ji Palace. They actually possessed such a terrifying means. The first stone statue swept its sword towards Yun Tianyu, Qi Zishu, and Wang Yinshan. The second stone statue swept its sword towards Lin Feng and Lung Zixi. Facing the attack of the stone statue, Lin Feng swept his sword towards the stone statue, while Lung Zixi swept her short blade towards it. Clang! Clang! Their weapons collided, and the two of them joined forces to resist the might of the stone statue. However, they were still sent flying. Seeing that, the cultivators from Ba Ji Palace revealed looks of excitement. The might of the stone statues was simply too powerful. They had completely suppressed Lin Feng and the others. Thus, They saw hope in killing Lin Feng and the others. Ha 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 ha. Just you wait. Lin Feng Yun Tianyu, and the others are dead for sure. The cultivators from Ba Ji Palace said excitedly. They hated Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, and the others to the bone. Looks like Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, and the others are dead for sure. Yes, the two stone statues are too powerful. There is simply no way to fight against them. They might be consigned to eternal damnation. The surrounding cultivators discussed spiritedly. They also believed that Lin Feng and the others were dead for sure. The main reason was that the two stone statues were simply too powerful. They were simply invincible. Lin Feng's expression turned grim. They were currently being suppressed by the stone statue's domain. Thus, their movements were sluggish and their combat power was greatly suppressed. However, Lin Feng was not without a way to deal with the stone statue's domain. Lin Feng circulated the domineering aura within his body. Next, the 5 types of domineering aura stacked together to form a domineering magnetic field. The domineering magnetic field enveloped the 2 stone statues, and the stone statue's domain was instantly dissolved. Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, and the others could not stop themselves from revealing looks of joy. Lin Feng said, "Everyone, follow me and mobilize the ancient demon weapons." All right. They quickly came to Lin Feng's side. Powerful spiritual energy continuously poured into Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng felt like his body was about to explode after enduring the infusion of so many experts' spiritual energy. He hastily summoned the ancient demon weapons. In fact, this was the first time Lin Feng had summoned the ancient demon weapons. His realm did not allow him to control the ancient demon weapons. Moreover, the ancient demon weapons had deities. Without the deities' recognition, it was even harder to control the ancient demon weapons. Chapter 4977. This ancient demon weapon was obtained by Lin Feng after he killed the heavenly demon emperor's son. It was an ancient demon weapon that was suppressed by the heavenly demon emperor. The deity of the ancient demon weapon had fallen into a deep slumber. Of course, the ancient demon weapon was terrifying enough. As long as one could activate the ancient demon weapon, there was no need to awaken the deity of the ancient demon weapon. After Lin Feng summoned the ancient demon weapon, it floated in front of Lin Feng. Endless demon chi surged out from the ancient demon weapon. This ancient demon weapon was very strange. Its shape was constantly changing. It looked like a sword, a saber, a spear, and so on. Lin Feng heard that ancient demon weapons were generally divided into 2 types. The first type was when the ancient demon weapon was forged. For example, the demonic blood saber that Lin Feng had seen before. The second type was when the ancient demon weapon's shape was unstable. It might undergo various changes. For example, the ancient demon weapon in front of him. Of course, the shape of the ancient demon weapon might be fixed in the future. It might turn into a sword, a spear, and so on. Everything was possible. However, no matter what shape it took, it wouldn't affect the power of the ancient demon weapon. Lin Feng's Fa Li continuously poured into the ancient demon weapon. The power of the ancient demon weapon was recovering bit by bit. However, even if only a part of its power was recovered, the ancient demon weapon was still terrifying to an unimaginable degree. Yun Tianyu and the others couldn't help but breathe faster. Such a powerful ancient demon weapon made their hair stand on end. Fortunately, this ancient demon weapon originally belonged to them. If it belonged to the enemy, it would be a disaster for them. Kill! With a deep roar, Lin Feng controlled the ancient demon weapon to attack the 2 stone statues. The ancient demon weapon slightly trembled in the void. In an instant, two dazzling beams of light were formed. The two beams of light contained unimaginably terrifying power as they blasted towards the two stone statues. Humph! The two stone statues couldn't help but snort. They had their own consciousness. Facing the attack of the ancient demon weapon, the two stone statues waved their swords and quickly swept towards the ancient demon weapon's attack. Accompanied by an earth-shaking collision sound, the two stone statues actually blocked the attack of the ancient demon weapon. After seeing this, Lin Feng wasn't surprised. After all, the two stone statues were the foundation of the Ba Ji Palace. It wasn't strange that they could block the ancient demon weapon's attack. Not enough. I need even more Fa Li's Fa Li. Everyone, don't be stingy with your Fa Li. Inject all your Fa Li qi into my body. Lin Feng said in a deep voice, because it was the first time that Lin Feng had activated a supreme treasure like the ancient demon weapon. Lin Feng had miscalculated the Fa Li required to activate the ancient demon weapon. The Fa Li required to activate the ancient demon weapon was far beyond Lin Feng's imagination. Fortunately, there were many people on his side, and they didn't use their full strength. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Yun Tianyu and the others didn't hesitate. Powerful Fa Li continuously poured into Lin Feng's body, and the Fa Li ultimately entered the ancient demon weapon. The ancient demon weapon's power became even more powerful. Whoosh! Whoosh! The ancient demon weapon once again shot out two light beams. These two light beams quickly bombarded the two stone statues. A large number of runes gushed out from the two stone statues. Obviously, the two stone statues hadn't used their full strength before. Now, they were displaying a more powerful technique. As the runes gushed out from the two stone statues, the battle strength of the two stone statues continued to increase, becoming even more powerful than before. The two stone statues held battle swords in their hands and once again bombarded the ancient demon weapon's attack. Clang! Clang! The attacks of the two sides collided once again. This time, the two stone statues were repelled by the ancient demon weapon. After seeing this scene, Lin Feng and the others were overjoyed. The ancient demon weapon had gained the upper hand in the second attack. This was naturally a great thing for Lin Feng and the others. This showed that the ancient demon weapon's attack was powerful enough. After seeing this scene, the faces of the people from Ba Ji Palace turned ugly. They were counting on the two stone statues to kill Lin Feng and the others. However, the two stone statues were suppressed instead. This made them extremely worried. The cultivators who were watching the show from the outside were even more shocked. Even the stone statues of Ba Ji Palace were suppressed. How could the ancient demon weapon's power be so terrifying? It was truly shocking. It was truly unbelievable. Previously, everyone had only heard of some things about the ancient demon weapon. After all, only a few people had seen it. Now that they had seen the power of the ancient demon weapon, they knew how terrifying it was. Moreover, everyone knew that the ancient demon weapon that Lin Feng and the others were controlling was only releasing a small portion of its power. In order to fully release the power of the ancient demon weapon, one needed to have the strength to match the ancient demon weapon. This sentence was actually very easy to understand. For example, a true immortal level magic weapon was forged by a true immortal realm cultivator. In order to fully release the power of a true immortal level magic weapon, a true immortal realm cultivator was required to activate it. As for a sacred artifact magic weapon, a true immortal realm cultivator was required to fully release the power of the sacred artifact. However, the ancient demon weapon was a supreme treasure that surpassed the sacred artifact. Wasn't it whimsical for a true immortal to fully release the power of the ancient demon weapon? being able to release a portion of the ancient demon weapon's power was already quite good. Even so, the ancient demon weapon still displayed such a heaven-defying combat power. Therefore, the cultivators who were watching the show, including the cultivators from Baji Palace, Lin Feng, Yun Tianyu, Qi Zishu, Wang Yinshan, and the others were all in disbelief. No wonder so many forces dreamed of obtaining an ancient demon weapon. If they could control an ancient demon weapon, a third or fourth-rate force could immediately become a top force. Lung Zishi was the only one who didn't seem surprised. Lung Zishi's expression and demeanor naturally couldn't escape Lin Feng's eyes. Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter in his heart. Could it be that Lung Zishi already knew that the ancient demon weapon was so powerful she was just a cultivator from a small force in the wasteland? Lin Feng would never believe that Lung Zishi's family had an ancient demon weapon. Perhaps Lung Zishi had seen someone take out an ancient demon weapon to fight against an enemy? Lin Feng couldn't help but ponder. However, he vaguely felt that things weren't that simple.